1.5.
1.5.
All right, I think we're live. It says we're live in the YouTube dashboard. So hello, everybody. Welcome to Tech Talk, episode 28, starring Houston and our special guest, David Hewlett. I'm guessing most of you probably don't know who he is. I mean, he was on a little TV show for a little while and some movies nobody ever watched, but, you know.
That's true.
He's a nerd.
After midnight. Those classics.
Oh, my God. Actually, that's a good question to ask you just right out of the gate, because a lot of people were excited when we said you were gonna potentially show up. What do you have a favorite, or are you allowed? Is it like children? Can you not say? But do you actually have like a favorite movie or TV show, or just your favorite acting job that you've ever done?
Oh wow!
Like, is that like one of those taboo things where it's like that's stepping on like your children? Like, oh, you can't say that one's your favorite, even though it clearly is.
It's kind of hard. The one that stands out the most to me was I did a gig back when I was like, I don't know, like 17, 18, called with John Warman, the guy who did Deliverance and
oh wow,
Excalibur, Zardoz, Zardoz, yeah. But I was so young, I didn't realize who he was really. Like I was like, yeah, whatever, big deal. I'm gonna be famous. You know what I mean? Like it was sort of like I was too young to truly understand it. But because of that, I just had the best experience because I just hung out with this freaking legend and all of these amazing actors and stuff, like just before they all sort of became hugely famous. And it was just an amazing experience. It was months and months of work. Like it was like 4 months work. It's back when they made movies, like they made real movies. And it was like the first time that I'd ever seen a monitor on set. Like everything before that. Oh yeah, no, everything before that was all like you went to see rushes the next day in the hopes that you just sort of like crossed your fingers and hoped you got what you got.
Wow.
Yeah. And Borman was just this magical beast. But yeah, I would say him or any of the stuff with Guillermo del Toro, same thing. The two, I'm kind of a sucker for directors. I think directors are the coolest thing on the planet. Maybe it's like a daddy issue or something I've got, but it's like I just think directors are so freaking cool.
Like being told what to do.
Yeah, there's a bit of that where it's like well, he knows. He had someone squeal like a pig and they did it.
That seems to be kind of a running thing in like from watching interviews and stuff. It seems like people either absolutely love like the director or they can't stand him. Like there never seems to be anybody that just shows up to work and does their job and they're like, okay, that went well. It's always like, oh no, this guy's a visionary. I'd work with him again. Or, oh my God, never again. This guy almost killed me 75 times. I'm done.
Yeah, it's weird because I feel like it is kind of a love-hate thing. Like it's like some directors will make you do things you don't like, and then sometimes you're like, no, I should not have done that, and then other times it's like, oh, okay, I wouldn't have come up with that myself. So it's hard. Favorite jobs, it's always it's like what's your favorite? There's always like bits of things you like a lot.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like what's your favorite time of life? I don't know. I mean, there's certain parts of it that I love now and bits that I miss from before. I mean, it's...
I suppose there's like no point in life where you just pinpoint it. You say like everything was absolutely at its apex perfect. There was always a trade-off.
Thank God. Otherwise, I'd be like, I'm done. I'm checking out now. That was the best it gets. I'm out of here.
Because like even though I got older, I was like, okay, yeah, I gained a bunch of weight. I'm out of shape. But hey, I can lay in bed for like 14 hours. No problem now. I could never do that as a kid. So take what you can.
I wish between the kid and the dog. Well, the kid's up pretty late now, but the dog, forget it.
Oh, I got the overlay messed up. I got to fix that. Here, let me move the overlay up. Oh, yeah, I had a echo on David. If you didn't see that in the chat early in the stream, I had to fix that because when I pulled him in on Skype, he had two separate audio sources. So
I think it's a contractual thing. I think I'm always supposed to be slightly echoey, so I sound more important.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, it's like just the sound of God. Like lower it down a little bit and put a nice like lengthy echo.
It's in all of my contracts. It's like my voice has to be lowered and emboldened.
Well, it's kind of a running joke here on Tech Talk that the first half of the show is literally just set up and fixing technical issues. So we've kind of just accepted that as like a part of the landscape. Hey, Dingo on my 40, thank you for the $3 super chat. Pup Shepherd, thank you for the $5.
Oh, wait a second. I should be watching this, shouldn't I? How do I gotta do that?
Oh yeah, get on here, man.
I gotta see the chat for God's sake.
Here, I'll even send you a link over on that Skype thing. Here, let me open up the little chat window. Can you see the little chat window over there?
I can just follow. You're on Twitch. You're on Twitch.
No, we're on YouTube right now.
That would explain a lot.
Yep.
Okay, all right.
No, so I'm gonna go over to my YouTube, where Google owns our soul. Pup Shepherd said he was on a show called Pimp Your Puppy. It went well. Nice. The movies have a TV script I need to film. Hey, James Odom, thank you for becoming a member, and James Calvano, thank you for that $10 super chat, dude. You're awesome.
What is that? What does that do? The super chat thing? That means they can like.
It's basically the equivalent on Twitch of like getting like a donation or bits.
Oh, cool.
So like on YouTube, it's a super chat, but the fundamental difference is that YouTube takes like almost all of it because they're terrible and horrible people. But whereas Twitch doesn't take as much, like Twitch actually leaves you enough that you can actually eat and like not starve to death. But but at any rate, it puts them. If you look on the stream, you can see them at the top of the chat. Like the people that do a super chat get a little like cool down timer and stuff. You know, it's like it's all the stuff the mental gymnastics that make you think you're in a casino playing slot machines and stuff, and we get to eat.
Right.
So it's
that little dopamine hit.
Exactly. Like it's like the hype train. You know the hype train on Twitch.
Oh, and
AuxxZillary, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You see that thing's all ding, 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 ding. Hype train level 1, hype train level 2, hype train level 3, and like you reduce it down to like its common component, and it's just people giving bits. That's all it is. The faster they give bits, the more ding, ding, dings, and the more the bar goes up, and you're like, wow, this is literally predatory. But I'm okay with it because at the end of the day, I get fed, so I'm
That's
good.
right. The child eats. You know what I mean?
James said, how much does YouTube take? I think they take 30%. I want to say it's 30%.
Probably.
Of the super chats or something like that.
That's like the standard nowadays. So.
Was that what Apple's doing? I mean,
dude, everybody takes 30%.
Apple, Steam, Google Play Store. I think the only one that doesn't take 30% is Epic. I think they take like 12.
Right. But what's funny about I guess what am I saying? Agents are taking so between an agent and a manager, I'm losing like 25% right away, and then the tax man takes the rest. I'm like, yeah. Well, agents take 15% up here. They take 10% in the States, and then you have a manager. They'll take another 10%.
Wait, hold up. Agents take more in Canada than they do in the United States?
Yeah, because they do less.
Oh. I like how he had that right on deck, like right off the bat.
I've never understood it. Like I love the agent I've got now. I love him. He's just a nerd like me. I call him up and we talk about what Lego he's built. Like that's awesome. That's what we talk about. He builds these like giant, like the freaking $1,000 Millennium Falcons and things. Yeah. Like he does that stuff. So that's like my wife's always like, so work. I'm like, oh no, but we just bought another Lego thing. So yeah, it's more about just me getting along with them than it is about the work side of it. But yeah, it's the cost of doing business, I guess. I've tried doing it without it, and it's amazing how little you work when you don't have an agent.
You know what's funny is even in the YouTube game, I've never actually had an agent. Like the closest I've ever come to an agent is like back when I did some sponsorships years ago. I had somebody that would like call me up and be like, "Hey, we got an ad for you to run if you want to run it." And then I'd be like, "No, I don't like that product. No, I don't like that product." And ultimately, would do one ad like every 6 months. But that's the closest I've ever come to an agent. But I know a lot of YouTubers that actually have like. I guess what you'd call agents, like people that plan the videos. They go and find the people that want, that want the content, go find the sponsorships, line it all up, do some of the scripting and put it together, and then basically just throw it at the creator. And the creator wakes up in the morning and is like, "Oh, this is what I'm doing today." And they just bang it out and they handle everything else. And
so
even
that's what managers are supposed to do for us.
Yeah, but you're saying that for the 10% they take in the U.S., they basically don't do anything. They're like, "You only pay us 10%," and they just don't do anything.
But this is how to never get hired again. But agents, I don't understand the agent thing. Look, it's funny. My son and I we did the dog walk today, as we do, and we were chatting about. He was asking about the film industry, and I was saying I just don't. I think it's so antiquated. Like to me, that's exactly what. That's what an agent should be doing, is looking for sponsors, looking for jobs, looking for how are we going to make this, how are you going to build things, Literally like a truffle pig for money. Just get out there and try to protect me from falling into something that's really terrible. Yeah, and also to give you that buffer, right? So you don't have to be the guy constantly going I don't want to do your podcast. I don't want to, that's one of the biggest things I think with agents is it gives you there's a distance between you and the person asking for you, if that makes sense.
No, and that makes sense because it's like if it's almost weird because if you have like a middleman, and I've even found in the YouTube game, as long as you have a middleman, the company will actually take less advantage of you. It's bizarre.
And take you more seriously. Too.
Exactly, and I don't really understand it because some of the middlemen that I've had a long time ago, they don't really even know what's going on. Like you can tell that they're just sending emails back and forth, throwing shit at the wall, seeing if it'll stick.
And that's the film industry. Same thing. The film industry, I'm convinced that the film industry, no one knows what the fuck they're doing.
It's literally just everybody throwing shit at the wall.
It's lightning in a bottle. Like, I feel like, look at the making of Apocalypse Now. Like, one of those brilliant films I've ever seen.
I watched that. Oh my God, man.
They're like, point the camera over there.
And then after it was all done, didn't they have to go back and like reshoot a whole bunch of it too? And the cast was like, seriously, they wanted to die. They all lost like 30 pounds.
Yeah, and then there's Brando making up shit as he goes along. I mean, I think it's sort of I think it truly is an art that we're trying to create this very rickety sort of business around, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you truly let an artist go, they don't care about money. They don't care about budgets. They don't care about any of that stuff. They just want to make what they want to make.
I think that's why I love where we're at in like the convergence of like technology and distribution. It has taken so much. It's democratized a lot of it. Yeah. Like YouTube's kind of edging more towards like the big bad Hollywood sort of, with the way that they kind of shit on monetization and things like that. But like
what has changed there that made that difference?
I want to say like with the adpocalypse, it really started with guys like Jake Paul or the Paul brothers making like shock value content and then advertisers. It kind of blew up on other social media channels in a bad way, and then advertisers started pulling their ads off of YouTube. They don't want to be, you don't want Disney running an ad on a video that shows like the suicide forest in Japan. Right. Yeah. And so in order to appease the big advertising dollars, they've now, there's all kinds of restrictions and stuff. The COPA thing with exploiting kids in videos.
Because oh my God, they were.
Oh, totally. And it got really bad. Like there were parents out there who were downright abusing their children on video for the reactions and stuff.
Yeah, where they're jumping out and scaring the crap out of their kids all the time.
Yeah.
Like,
and
dude, I saw videos where they were running in and like throwing stuff at their children and like body checking them into the wall and stuff. Like little 10-year-old kids, and they're crying, and it's like, "Oh, I got you, prank," and it's like, your dad's doing that to you?
I know we all do it, but don't film it.
Right. I think though, thankfully, there are other platforms: Twitch, TikTok, Instagram.
Are you using TikTok?
Stuff. A little. I consume more than I create. But but in a bigger picture, it's so easy for anybody to create any kind of content they want. Like it started with blogs, right? Anybody could just write an article about anything they want. There's video. You can get professional quality video from the device in your pocket. Yeah. And there's so many free editing tools. There's graphics and visual effects.
The democratization.
And it's like, man, it's just anybody can create any kind of content they want. And
the problem is everyone does.
Right. It does make for a lot of like bad content, but it does also create a huge opportunity because there's no old guy telling you no. There's no boardroom of a bunch of out of touch people who are going to tell you that, oh, our focus group says that you should be wearing a red dress in that video. Go do it again. You can just put it out there and let the market, in a sense, decide. Yeah. And I really love that because it's come up before, like that old quote about Andy Warhol saying everybody in the future, everybody has 15 minutes of fame.
Wow, is he right?
I think. Well, but I also think that it's adjusted a little bit, where everybody now has at least 15 fans. Like anybody out there, you can have whatever your cool thing is, whatever you think is super awesome and you're interested in. There's a group out there. There's other people out there who will like it too, and you don't.
It's a bit like the long tail, isn't it? It's a bit like there's an audience for something. There's an audience out there for everything.
Yeah, for sure.
The size depends on how
And if you want to take that route, you can monetize even the very smallest fan base, like and make a halfway decent go at it. Anybody, if you're willing to have the appropriate expectation. Right. You're not gonna. You may not be PewDiePie where you have 10 million subs and you're raking in $100,000 a month, but like Heck, man, if I could replace my monthly, what I make now, my 9 to 5, doing every day what I most absolutely love to do and talk about at the core of my being, I would take half what I'm getting paid to love every day.
That's literally what I did. I mean, when I worked at Microsoft, I made way more than ever doing this. So, but I enjoy this.
But you're way happier.
Yeah,
I get this with acting. Honestly, since Baz started me streaming, I mean, I was doing a bit of YouTube stuff before for my own enjoyment, really, my own sanity in some ways. I mean, it was almost like it was a bit like a blog where you just got to just voice stuff.
Yeah.
But I just found that I suddenly went, wait a second, there's all the planning, all of the, stuff isn't getting made because you're spending so much time trying to make it right. Whereas if you could just get out there and go talk to people about it, things happen.
Yeah.
In a way that they just don't happen if it's all planned out. And you watch these YouTube videos that the YouTube professional pro stuff that they're doing. It doesn't work because it's taken the entire spontaneity out of these people, and these people are famous because of that spontaneity.
And I think that's why like vlogs were really popular in the beginning, was because it was just you walking down the street. Hey guys, I'm here at the cool like state fair and blah blah blah. It was super raw. And reality TV, same deal. It used to be super unscripted, super raw and real. And I feel like even now people will grow with that authenticity. Yeah. Like they'll get a fan base, and it's, we get a peek into this person's life and their opinions. But then they get to a certain point, and now I have to make it more professional, more Hollywood almost. And I feel like that's just pressure from outside. Like, why?
That's what I went through. Wrong. Yeah. Like I did the same thing.
Really?
Like I went out and bought like a $3,000 webcam. When 99.9% of the time, this is what I shoot everything with still, because this is just so much more cumbersome.
And I imagine, Jerry, you're probably, I'm totally just guessing out of the wind here, but like I bet your Twitch content is in overall more engaging.
Well, I like that, engagent. I think we should
that's a new word coined here.
Engagent. Yeah.
And sort of in the long term more popular. Because you've mentioned before in the past, like you'll do an off the cuff 10-minute video of you like falling off the roof or whatever, and it'll get more views in a shorter amount of time than the most polished. It took me a week to edit and record, and it's because people they can feel that fakeness in it.
Yeah. Especially the younger generation. We did on the Tech Bandits this week. Was it Game Bandits? One of the two. Either Game Bandits or Tech Bandits this week.
By the way, pimp those things too and explain what they are, because we got to get some of these people over to check out Tech Bandits.
Oh, okay. There's some people who might get a kick out of it. I mean, but basically we were talking about video games, and the kids were complaining about the latest Fortnite update because they're like, it's just got Marvel all over it. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so happy, because my response was like, oh, really? Like the whole thing I loved about video games was they were new, they were original. We were creating new characters, new worlds. To see these big, awkward, like behemoths of Disney culture being shoved into these cool little indie games. Like, not that Fortnite was there was a cool little indie game when it started. I mean, watching Minecraft turn into Minecraft Dungeons and I feel like the film industry is, and I'm sort of cutting off my nose to spite my face to some extent here, but I really feel like it's out of touch. Like I feel like my joke is that like there's the film industry's up here and the world is sort of like caved out the cliff beneath it. Like eventually it'll just go ka-chunk, and then we'll realize that there's nothing sustaining it. Because the kids you have to force a kid to watch television now. My son would much rather watch us freaking talking than, or even video games. People enjoy watching people play video games more than them even playing the video games. And I even catch myself doing the same crap. I'll be sitting there watching Jimmy Broadbent, lapping around the Nürburgring, saying all kinds of funny stuff in a British accent. And I'm like, why am I not playing this game? I have this game. I have a steering wheel. I could be doing what he's doing, but I just find it more entertaining to sit there and watch him do it and hear his commentary. Yeah. And it makes sense even to me, a 40-year-old man, But it's that community too. I mean, it's just this sense of like, I've just met the coolest people and sort of kindred spirits who are all sort of making their own way in this industry. And it's not an industry, it's the wrong term for it. I mean, in this, I feel like this is social media. Like this is truly social media because you are socializing with people you wouldn't get a chance to normally.
I love it.
Yeah, I do too.
That's the best part about live content for me is I'm less anxious. I try to do pre-recorded stuff. I get super and I don't have to think about it. It's just me. And the responses. I freaking love it.
Yeah, no, I'm exactly the same. I've spent people ask how you been doing? I'm like, better than normal. I prefer this. I prefer a little studio in the basement to having to go to auditions and
so nice
and going to set. I mean, I'm going to set and it's like I'm trying to find the person who I'm supposed to check in with to make sure that I don't have COVID. I'm like, shouldn't they be waiting for me?
So
I'm roaming through the lunch.
Have they in the broader I guess Hollywood sense, have they started doing more in the virtual production sense or space? Do you could you set up a green cube in a room in your house and then you could just basically do your acting and they could comp you in with something else?
I think we're basically there. I think we're just about there. We watch movies now. What were we watching? Baz and I are watching Gemini or whatever it was, the terrible Will Smith movie.
Oh, Gemini.
That was so bad.
Oh my God.
It looks interesting.
Well, but it's just they were so enamored with the idea that they'd put his younger face on somebody, but then they're just cartoons. They literally move like cartoons. They ignore physics. And I feel like if you're going to do that, why not just do an animated movie? Frankly, the best movies that have been out recently, I think, are purely animated.
100%.
Yeah.
Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Yeah. You could not have done that movie better live action.
That is the best Spider-Man movie they have ever made, hands down, out of the park.
You guys are going to hate me, but I couldn't stand it in the movie theater because the constant frame rate change literally made me sick. But at home, I watched it again. I loved it.
Oh, man.
Yeah, we only shot it at home.
Oh, that glitchy effect. There's scenes where around the edges it's blurry and and it's got that glitch effect and they totally did that on purpose. And everything about that movie is amazing. The mix of 3D, 2D animation, I just love, and I feel like people poop on animated films, like Disney redoing all of their animated films live action, and The Lion King flopped because a big reason that was popular as an animated film was the emotive faces. And you can't do that when you have a real lion.
We know lions don't stand up and start singing. And if they do, then you got to check what you just ate because it's not. Your brain is going something's wrong. This is No, I agree. I don't understand the live action stuff at all. And also, I feel this way about theater. Where theater, if I'm going to go to see theater, which is very, very rare because I hate seeing plays, always have, don't know why. Used to do them and think I don't know why people are seeing this. And then I realized that what I like about theater is if I can see something in a theater that I'm not going to see anywhere else. So Cirque du Soleil, crazy giant musicals, something that just crazy spectacle things that I can only see on a stage. I get that. But then if I'm not going to go to a play and watch really serious acting going on, I'm well then I'll watch it on a movie. You're right in my face. I can see you acting or not. On a stage, it feels like real acting isn't real acting. You have to act louder. You have to wave your arms around more. I've never understood it for real stuff. One of the most brilliant plays I ever saw was this. It was Salome, I don't know how you say it, but and it was a play done in London, and they did it in slow motion.
What?
As a kid, I came in and I was like, oh, you've got to be kidding me. I'm going to watch a play. But then you start watching it. After about 10 minutes, that is the speed that you're understanding the play.
Oh,
so that
neat.
when you get out of the play and you step out into London, it's things are moving really. I was like, oh my God, I get it. I get what they were doing. It was so neat. It was except Derek Jacobi was the star. Who's a bit of a ham. I mean, he's brilliant, but he's a bit of a ham. So he just slowed down the words he liked. Everything else he sped through. It was he was just making the most out of all this stuff. So
hey, David, we had a guy in chat. He said, "Is the guy in the middle a Hollywood guy?" I just thought that was funny. Somebody just saw you.
I look Hollywood. I look Hollywood.
You're a Hollywood guy.
I look like what is it? We used to have a show here called Captain Kangaroo.
Oh, dude, I grew up on Captain Kangaroo.
Yeah. like I wanted to be James Dean. Look at me. I'm freaking Captain Kangaroo.
Hey,
like,
you totally are.
Like,
oh man,
there you go.
Love it.
When they do his life story, I want that role.
There you go.
Hey, just catch up on the super chats here. ML, thank you for the 100 sexes. By the way, there's a currency called SEK. So sexes. So we got 100 sexes. Said hello from was it Claruna? I don't know where that is. Emily, you have to let us know in chat. Bubba to Matt, thank you for the $2. Said, Ola Senior, what's up? We're doing good. Jeffrey Tripp, thank you for the $5 super chat. He said, David's volume needs to be turned up. I think I resolved that. I put a compressor filter on, so it should balance AuxxZillary and David at the same time. If it doesn't, let me know. He said, otherwise, David, would you, let's see. He said, would you be up for reviving Atlantis? I love Stargate so much. Just watched it. Thanks. I'd
love to, but, you know, it's like, what are you going to, I'm going to be like, it's going to be McKay and a walker.
No. They got the digital makeup, man. They've been doing it to Tom Cruise for years. He still looks like he's 14.
That's right. I'll all of a sudden physics won't apply to me anymore.
You'll move it like 1/4 speed, and like the AI will just speed it up and add some fluidity to it.
But that's kind of the neat thing about it, though. In a way, is I was talking to people about possibly pitching a man. There's the coolest artifacts happening on you there. Wow. There's like a cool digital effect right there. You couldn't create that if you want. Sorry, I think it's just my connection. But it's one of those things that if you could almost have a library of looks and moves and emotions that you could completely digitize, and then basically you just rent out your library of stuff for people. So you could say like, okay, I want Mel Gibson's racist look. I want
Tom Cruise's energy.
Tom Cruise's energy, Meryl Streep's acting abilities, and I want him to dance like Tom Holland. And you stick all those things together, and you've got a movie star, right?
Everybody becomes their own agent at that point because you're literally just pimping out your own library.
Yeah, so you get like a few cents for that look that you applied that you had.
That's hilarious.
So when Carrie Fisher died, and they used her likeness to do younger Leia.
Yeah.
I want to say there was some friction over the ownership of her likeness.
Right.
And I think that sort of thing's gonna go on because like who owns your face after you die? You know? Or your
Black
voice.
Panther just died.
Yeah, I saw that.
God, that took the wind out of my sails yesterday.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
What if somebody wants to use Morgan Freeman's voice in an animated film after he dies?
Actually, God owns that. God owns that voice. So
there's like plenty of data to recreate his voice and chop it up and remix it. And there's enough of a machine learning AI strength there that you could type anything out and boom, you have Morgan Freeman saying it. But who owns that? Does his estate get it for the 100 years or in perpetuity? Like, what's the deal?
I know when I sign things, I'm often signing things that say they have the right to this stuff forever, basically. And that's just sort of that you never really thought of it before. But the contracts haven't changed much. Well, they're changing now, but they hadn't for a long time changed from when I started, which was like, yeah, sure, you're going to show my episode twice on TV and then it's gone, right?
Right.
You never see it again. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, crap, they just sold the DVD rights. Oh, my God. Those bad movies are showing up all over the place now, you know?
Yeah, the middlemen on YouTube used to do that, too. Like, you used to have to sign with basically like a production company to make any money on advertisements on YouTube. Now YouTube does it directly, but it used to be that you had to be with these middlemen like Maker Studios and Full Screen and stuff like that.
Oh.
And their contracts were ridiculous because they knew that nobody was like, they were all just people working at home making videos. So they didn't think anybody would, like show a lawyer or anything like that. So they'd get away with the craziest stuff in their contracts. Like I remember the first time I got a contract from, I believe it was Full Screen. They said in there that every video I made, they owned in perpetuity and they could rebroadcast it on any of their own platforms for their own purposes without having to pay me anything or any like forever till like the end of time.
And most people are just happy to sign it, right?
Yeah, you're just like, oh man, but I read it and I was like, no way. And when I called them on it, they immediately removed it. They didn't even argue with me. They're like, oh, you caught us. Okay, here, we'll pull that out. Okay, is it good now? And I'm like, wow, so how many people are just signing this thing without reading it like it's a EULA and not realizing they're giving away their whole YouTube channel to this company?
Yeah, no, that's the stuff that I think a lot of the kids are getting savvier on it. Although, look, I just got a copyright strike on YouTube.
What?
Because because my son I didn't realize when we took a break on our 7-hour he wanted to do like a 5K followers stream.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, oh, that's cool. Because we did it was like really long. So we went and took the dog out for a walk. We come back again. I didn't realize he just put on a YouTube channel with music playing.
Oops. Oh, no.
So when I dumped it onto YouTube to look at later, of course, they're like, bang, bang, bang.
Yep.
And the last time I had a copyright strike, it was because he'd put the fireside as a waiting screen. He just had the burning fire.
Oh, somebody
else's
else's video. Yeah.
And that was copyright? Like just the crackling fire?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
it was because he was just streaming it off YouTube, right? He doesn't. And I said to him, I said, look, if you want to be a streamer when you grow up, you don't just sit there watching videos of people gaming. You got to learn the ins and outs. You got to learn the politics. You got to learn the copyright stuff. Yeah. He's got to know his business, right?
I almost had this happen on Twitch yesterday. Or no, not yesterday. It was 2 days ago. I was playing some community music from the mod scene back in the 80s. I figured these guys didn't copyright their stuff because they're just so old, right? And so I'm playing it on Twitch. Everything's fine. And I go to use the bathroom. And all of a sudden, the chat just starts blowing up, going, oh, my God, shut off your stream, shut off your stream. YouTube had shifted me over to another song that wasn't in the playlist. There was some, top 10 Billboard song. And it just started playing. I'm like, oh, God, run upstairs, stop. Luckily, it wasn't enough that they actually decided to flag it and take it down. It's actually still up. They just muted it in the playback. But it's like, had I did that on YouTube, it would have been like instant ban, instant strike against the channel, like no exceptions.
Yeah, we've been blocked on a couple of countries, I think. I don't know what the deal is. I got to look at it. I'm going to edit out that bit or just mute it.
I think it's the mustache, dude. I think it's the mustache.
The pedo mustache. Yeah.
I get it every year in November. I do the November thing.
Oh, do you do it?
So, yeah. Oh, yeah. And the mustache you got right there, it takes me an entire month to grow half of that. Like low T for the win, right? Oh, my gosh.
Well, this is going to get trimmed tomorrow, I think. I got to be on set early tomorrow morning. I was joking with my son. He's like, so what do you have to do tomorrow? I said, okay, I have to get up really early. They'll give me a haircut. They'll trim my mustache. They'll put makeup on my face. I will storm out of a room and then I'll come home and go back to bed because that's all I have to do tomorrow. Literally, no lines, nothing.
So I'm just storming
out in the background. No, it's actually one of the scenes, but the way they're shooting it, it's the very tail end of a scene where I've just had a huge fight with someone and I'm storming out of the background. That's all I do.
I've always wondered about that, like shooting out of chronological order.
Oh my God, especially now with COVID. It's even worse now, right?
Wow.
Well, and it's all just editing magic anyway, so it doesn't matter. As long as you're wearing the same shirt or whatever and make sure continuity is maintained, you can do it in any order you like. Yeah.
My favorite continuity story from Stargate was that we would always end seasons on a cliffhanger. And in one cliffhanger, I'm like buried by rubble. And then we started filming the next season. I'd been away for 8 months, 6 months, whatever it was. I'd been to Australia. I was, oh my God, try this foie gras is amazing. Give me 2. I'm on a television series. I'm drinking wine. I'm eating. I came out of that thing. I was like 20 pounds heavier.
Oh no!
From the 5 minutes I was trapped in that rubble. And my co-star looks at me and goes like, "What, were you trapped in a fucking room of sandwiches? Like what the hell? What?" Because it's literally like I'm like, oh, thanks for saving me, and they're like, who are you? Who is this guy? Santa's returned.
Oh, so, yeah.
I've never been a part of like a proper production. Everything I've ever done, even for I think the most production thing I've ever been a part of was like some indie film called Cube that never actually got greenlit. Like we just did the what do they call it, like the promo for it. And, it was called Cube, and I was in Seattle at some like hookah lounge, and they're shooting. It's like CGI and live action put together with rotoscoping, and so they put me in it. But I was like, it was very confusing how everything's shot because they basically just hand you a script and they're like, okay, here's your line. You have no context of what happened before or what happened after or anything. They're just like, somebody's gonna open the door, somebody's gonna walk through this door, say this to them. In this tone, like you're mad or you're happy.
They usually give you a bit more information.
In this one, they didn't. This was totally like, you could tell this was like a couple people in the shed that came up with this one.
Right.
But it was weird. It was weird watching it shoot throughout the day because I never could get a handle. Like we shot for about 8 hours. I was only in a very small part of it, but I was helping people move stuff and kind of be in a grip. And
that's what I love.
I could not believe, I could not get a grip on what the story was about. After 8 hours of shooting, I couldn't tell you what character was good, what one was bad, what the hell just happened. It was so weird.
But I think that's the film industry in a nutshell. I truly believe that everyone's flying by the seat of the pants. People pretend to know what they're talking about. When people suddenly have a couple of hits, people give them too much money and they make bad movies. That's just basically what happens.
Oh, man.
Yeah. And I've found that to be true with like shows and things too, where it'll be cool because it's a new and indie or just kind of a fresh kind of idea, and then they beat the crap out of it. And then 6 other things will try and do the same thing, and it just doesn't. It's not the same, and well,
luckily television's changing now, because it used to be like, okay, every week we have to do exactly the same thing slightly differently. Whereas now, like, we just watched Chernobyl. Like, we finally sat down. I started to watch Chernobyl. I couldn't watch it because I was honestly, I'm like heart palpitations. I was like, I remember this like as a young guy reading the newspaper articles and thinking we're all going to die. And then I watched the show finally, and I was like, oh my God, this is better than most movies, because you get to know these characters over like 6-8 episodes in a way that you just don't get a chance to do in a 2-hour film. You know,
you literally get PTSD watching that thing though, because you're like, it's so close to like reality.
I felt like I wanted to take my inhaler all the time. I was like, I was getting wheezy just watching it.
Yeah,
I was like, and I like the idea too that it seems like we're moving to a point where it's okay to only have like 2 seasons. Like you can tell a complete story, and that's enough. Like it's okay. You don't have to stretch it out to 8, and then people get upset. Like, ugh, it's the same thing over and over. Like, just tell your story, and that's enough. Like,
it's funny because the issue out there is how do you make money, right? Like, so the shows want to go as long as possible. Obviously, they used to get to like syndication. Once you got 100 episodes, you were syndicated, so you could basically sell as a big chunk to lots of different stations all over the world. Right. You make tons of money. That's everyone's goal. So Stargate ran 5 years. Atlantis ran 5 years. They got 100 episodes. They knew they could now sell that as a chunk, basically. But now. We're sort of moving to this British model, and the British model. The weird thing that people don't seem to understand about that is that that's basically tax money. That's basically just the television tax. Like, they literally used to have vans driving around looking for televisions that hadn't paid their permit.
I watched a documentary where they were doing that. Yeah,
they used to really do that. I don't even know if they still do, but so they're basically, your content is being paid for by this stuff. Yeah. So they don't have to make 18 episodes of a show or an entire season.
Some amazing things came out of that, right? You got like Top Gear, right? That's amazing. You got Doctor Who, that's amazing. Fantastic. Yeah. It's like we had something like that here in the United States too, called PBS, Public Broadcast System. You remember that? Yeah. So I don't know how big it is today, but I know that it wasn't the state's money, but it was like they were driven by donations
and stuff.
So they were an over-the-air broadcast company that also had like some cable syndication, but you basically just sent them in donations, and in between the shows they'd just be like, hey, this is public broadcasting. If you'd like to support what we do, send us a couple dollars to. And they
remember those drives? Remember when they did the drives, and you were like, oh my God, just please start the show.
Right.
It's like right as the person's falling off the cliff, it's like, and you could actually give us $9 if you want to see the rest of this television show.
I know you don't want to see us, and that's why we want to go too. So just give us the money now so we can move on and you can see a new episode of. It's like, oh my God, we just watched the Doctor Who. I want to see Doctor Who.
Wait, what's your goal? I'll just do that. Now stop with this.
I wish I had the money. If I had the money, I'd pay you to shut up, basically.
We got a couple super chats. Jeffrey, thank you for the $5. Said David's. Oh, no, already fixed it. Sorry, I already got that one. A Lindfors, thank you for another 100 sexes. So we got another 100 sexes. He said, big thanks to David Hewlett for the performance of Stargate Atlantis. I just loved it. You can tell we got a lot of nerds in here. Missing good sci-fi movies and series nowadays. Best regards, Andre. Wow.
What else is good out there right now?
Good sci-fi stuff like Star Trek Discovery. I hated when it first started, but then I just fell in love with it.
The Expanse.
It's funny because
The Expanse, fantastic.
I haven't done The Expanse because I read the book. I started watching the series. I got confused. I was like, what? I've read the book. I still don't know what's going on.
The thing is, everything they do is very real, though. That's what I like about The Expanse is like, even if the story, and the story does get a little confusing here and there, like, why did they do that? That doesn't make any sense. But
I hate the politics.
Yeah, the science is solid, though.
Part. Yeah,
the science is great.
The VFX that they did for the science part is outstanding. The zero G and everything, that's great.
Like when they're docking, they have to switch directions and like do bursts, and I mean, it's very, very scientific.
Oh, neat.
So my friend Bob Monroe was in charge of visual effects for the first, I don't know how many years they did, and he was all second unit as well. So all of those wicked shots that he did, He may be under down as Robert Monroe, but he's Bob Monroe, one of the sweetest, loveliest nerds. You should have. Oh my God, you should talk to him on this. You'd love him. He's a total nerd. He's a total nerd, and he can walk you through all of that stuff. He's on What We Do in the Shadows now. That's the new one he's working on. He went to do another season on. What was it called? What's that other one? That sort of Blade Runner ripoff that wasn't very good. Altered Carbon.
Oh, I liked that.
Oh, I loved Altered Carbon.
I liked Altered Carbon.
Did you just take a big Steven shit on Altered Carbon? Where's that disconnect button? Where do we find that Skype window?
Cool. Yes, I did, because wait a second. Blade Runner was like 30 years ago. We're still doing that? That's still the future?
No, I'll give you as a Blade Runner ripoff, but I thought it was a well-done Blade Runner ripoff for people that have ADHD that Blade Runner was too slow for.
I wouldn't have made the connection if you hadn't said it. Like, I get it, but it's totally different, because it'd be like if Blade Runner, you were putting humans into the replicant bodies.
Okay,
because
right. Yeah, I guess
I suppose
the little alien disc things like have yourself in them.
I like the idea of needle casting though. That was cool.
Hey, segue!
Perfect.
It's the Neuralink.
Whoa, that was like not planned at all. I think we just found the first use for Neuralink.
All right, so wait a second. So I have to go. So I have to watch The Expanse, and I have to watch Altered Carbon. Is that right?
And Altered Carbon. Yep.
I can see where it's a little difficult because it's hard to keep track of who is who when they're body jumping. In Altered Carbon,
it was harder in the first season though. The second season they kind of worked that out, but the first season, like, I was like, who the hell is this? Like, you'd see like 5 different people and they're the same people, and you're like, what?
That was my lady stopped watching because she couldn't keep track.
Yeah,
but I think they did it really well. I thought.
All right, I have to give that a go. I'll give that a go again.
Actors really keep a lot of the mannerisms, the character mannerisms, pretty seamless. They did a really good job.
Yeah, I just like the idea of like real death versus like fake death. Like, you could just run around just like popping people and they could just download into another body and they'd be fine. So that wasn't like really murder unless you actually like killed them and then deleted their backup. Then that was murder.
Right.
Or broke the disc thing. Yeah.
Yep. Or they would there was like rules saying you couldn't make copies because some people would duplicate their copy and make like clones of themselves basically. And so if you did that was illegal. So I mean they actually did have some pretty cool dynamics in the story.
There was a show for a while there that had like an android cop that I really liked. Remember that? There was a network show, and it was like a human and an android cop.
I know somebody did a live action. There was a Penny Arcade comic.
It was W.H. Wyman. He's the guy, one of the writers from Lost. Really talented writer.
Almost Human.
In Toronto. Almost Human. That's it.
Almost Human.
I really liked that. I liked that because there was a sense of fun to it, but cool. it was like silly fun.
Yeah.
But it was truly exploring that kind of like, okay, androids, humans, how does this work? You know, I enjoyed that. But again, it was only on for like, I'm not sure if it did an entire season. I don't even know if it did an entire season.
Check that out. That looks cool.
That's crazy. I'm waiting for The Boys, man. That's the new big one I'm waiting for. Have you seen it?
Insane.
It is so over the top. I just can't stop watching it. It's like that in Handmaid's Tale. I hate that show, and I physically throw stuff at the TV and scream at the TV. Handmaid's Tale is the only TV show I've ever watched in my entire life where I literally just sit there and chuck stuff at the television and scream, and my wife looks at me like I'm a madman. It's like nothing.
Have you read it?
What's that?
Have you read the book?
No, I have not read. Dude, do I look like I can read? Come on, no. Everything's got to be a visual representation with vocals. Dude, I'm that person that watched Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and everybody's like, this is so good. And I'm like, I'm not reading this movie. And I just get up and walk out.
Oh, really? It's the only way I can get my son to read. Anime is the only thing my son reads because he has to read the subtitles. He won't listen to the dubbed.
It's good practice for fast reading.
Oh, my God. Fast reading. He's got his vocabulary is amazing. Somewhat suspect, but definitely and certainly rude. But he's got the vocab there. Yeah. No, it's the one sort of like glimmer of hope I have because he's like pathological about books. Like he just will not. He goes, it's a book. I can't read it. I'm not gonna read it.
My son loves reading, which is weird because I can't stand. Like the only thing I've ever read in my life is technical manuals. Like I can read a code book cover to cover in a night, but I cannot read a story like to save my life.
You guys,
I can't retain it, but I read them all the time. My favorite book series was the 21 Days, the Sam's 21 Days Guide to Learning How to do Java or HTML. Or I used to read those things all the time. But then as soon as it went to video, I'm like, oh, screw that. It's just better to watch a video tutorial.
You're like lynda.com? Screw you, Bucks.
Oh my God.
You're now for starting the barbecue.
But I bought her book. I was one of the, so when that book first came out, the thing that launched her career was a book called, it was like the guide to web graphics, web images. And it was an entire book dedicated to how you created images for the web. And it was this crazy expensive, beautiful book. My sister asked me to get it for her because we were working together as a web design company for film and television companies. We had absolutely no clients. Nobody wanted it. And we were too early. Everyone's like, what? I'm a film and television company. Why would I need an internet site? But we bought that book. And then when she started the tutorials, they were too expensive. But then when she went to the streaming version, oh my God, that was my entertainment. I watched tutorials. Loved it.
I think we're getting a delay here. Hold on, let me fix this.
Oh, it happened.
Yes, looks like Skype's
I would say just don't fiddle.
Yeah, we'll just leave it alone. It's fine.
It's all good.
It's fine. You people just slow your brains down a little bit. Drink your coffee a little slower, and it'll all come together. Technical issues are part of the game. Hey, Emil, thank you for another 50 secs. He said Corona, that was the previous tip, is in North Sweden. So we got some North Sweden people in the house.
Ooh. Oh, wow, really?
Hell yeah.
I tell you, I really want to get out there. I really want to get that part of the world is something. Oh, can't wait.
I'm not very well traveled. I've driven to Canada like 3 or 4 times in my life, and I went to Mexico once. And I flew right to the place I was going and stayed in the resort and never left.
Yeah, that's basically how I work.
So
I love traveling around, going to places. It's super cool.
I hate it until I do it. My wife makes me do it, and I love it when I do it. But it's like I'm an extrovert hermit, so I prefer
everything in my life. You just described everything. Like, even going to the bathroom, that's it. It's like I don't want to do it, and then I finally get there, and I'm like, you know what? This is nice. Like, I feel better
after. It's always better after. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Dude, that's why I was 10 minutes late. I had, the coffee was doing its job. I'm like, 10 minutes, I'll be there.
Coffee is a hell of a lubricant. That's all I'm going to say.
That's right.
Hey, James, thank you for the $5 super chat. He said, here, take my money. Why not? I like that philosophy. That's a good, solid philosophy.
Yeah, please.
Hey,
please.
Al, we got 40 rupees from Alan BR. He said, do actors really care about IMDb ratings? I've always wondered that myself.
That's it. The funny thing about IMDb is I was on IMDb when it first started, when it was a bunch of nerds putting together a database of movies. And they used to email me and go, oh, hi, David, that's cool that you're doing a new project. Like, literally, like, they were like, so I had like, yeah, exactly. I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. And then, of course, like everything, it gets bought by Amazon. But
marketers ruin everything.
It's really important. Like, it does actually have, like, when producers go and look, it's been really interesting watching Jane doing casting right now. I've been a part of this before, and it's always frustrated me because I'm like, where's the data? Like, you've got these distributors saying, like, we need so-and-so for the movie. I'm like, why do you need them? Because when I do a Google search, I see that this person, like Google Trends, I've, like, introduced Canadian producers to Google Trends. Because I'm like, you want to know whether you've got the right person for your movie? Check Google Trends. You can see whether they're going up, whether they're going down, where are they popular. It's everything you need. You just need to use the information. But still, you get these lists from distributors, these like random lists of people they want to sleep with or something. I don't know what. Like I don't know where they get their people from.
It's crazy.
Yeah, like there was a whole discussion the other day. I don't know if I'm even allowed to say this. There was a whole discussion about like who would be better for I'm going to make up 2 different names just in case. So it was like, would it be better to have like, Sharon Stone or, Judge Dredd, whatever her name is, Ashley Judd. I got in trouble for that. I used to call her Judge Dredd. I worked with her. She was so miserable. I used to call her Judge Dredd. But they're not basing it on data. They're not looking at any numbers. They're just going like, "Oh, I liked her in that movie." It's like naming a baby. It's entirely personal.
You'd think, especially it's 2020, man. Yeah. There's so much data, like and easily accessible. Why would you like? Oh, I just recognize that name and like
or pay for data, like buy data, like dude, like surely that's a good place to put who's beginning to trend. Who can we get low cost now? Who's going to pay off big time later?
Yeah. Wow.
There you go. We should all be doing this. We should all be. That's it. We're going to stop these. We're just going to have streams about like analyzing actors and try to figure out how to hack me to the top of IMDb. So yes, it is important. It is important. Do I look at it every so often? I mean, when Jane's looking up actors, I'll go like, wonder if anyone gives a shit about me anymore. You know what I mean? Like, you can't help it. It's like Googling yourself every so often. You know
I mean, YouTubers, we all look at like the Social Blade and we're like, oh, look, we went up by 3 views. Oh, 5 more people subscribed. Woo! Oh my God, we're going up. Oh, it's going down. Oh, we needed KYS. I mean, we're like mad.
What is Social Blade? What's the deal on that?
Well, I wouldn't say it's IMDb, but it's basically a public metrics tracker for YouTube channels. So you can basically go there and basically see like how popular you are, how you've trended over time, how most of your audience finds you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Is it a paid service? You have to pay for it?
No, it's free. It's free. Social Blade. I mean, they're just powered by ads.
I think you can get more data if you do sign up on their premium membership. You can get longer stretches of analytics and things like that. But yeah, and the cool thing is you could punch in, it's YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Daily Motion, Mixer's dead now. But you could punch in any username and you can see like, oh, their follows are down or their lives are up or this and that. And it's pretty cool. Why
are people using this? I don't understand this. It's funny. So I had a discussion with a company here about setting up a YouTube division. They wanted to start doing they were a film television company. They wanted to get into YouTube. And so I said, and they were like, we hired this person. We spent $100,000 to get this YouTuber to come in and do an episode of our show, but we didn't see any increase in numbers. And I was like, yeah, because they're not watching her followers are on YouTube. They're not on television. They don't watch television. They watch her on YouTube. They'll watch a video that you'll make about making your show, but they probably won't even go see the show. So my pitch to them was, I said, like, we have to start creating. You need to start creating your own YouTube channels. Like, you need to start finding people, developing them. I met this amazing guy who's flying to Cannes for this TV festival thing. And someone else was paying, so they flew us business, which is very nice. I'm in steerage if I'm paying, but if
I'm the same
if someone
way.
else is paying, if someone else is paying, I'm like, no, I only fly business. So I'm sitting there, and there's this guy beside me, and so the usual thing where you're like, hey, what are you doing? And he's like, oh yeah, going to the festival. I'm like, oh cool. What do you do there? And he goes, oh, I'm a YouTuber. And I was like, oh great, okay, cool.
Get out of here.
And this was early on, right? So I was like, whatever, And but I'm a nerd, so I'm like, okay, so what do you're a YouTuber? Why are you in business class? Why are you flying to Cannes? And he goes, well, he says I run a channel. We spend $2,000 per channel. So he invests $2,000 of his money into channel. This is in India. So he gives an Indian channel $2,000 and 2 years. After 2 years, if he's not making that money back, he cuts them loose, and they can do whatever they want. If they are making money, he reinvests at a higher level and brings them into his sort of fold.
Hey.
And he was making something like $2 million a month or something.
I believe it.
With like 2,000 channels.
Yeah. I've heard of solo folk doing that, where like they'll grow one channel pretty big, start making money, but then they'll like pay their buddy, hey, my buddy the car guy,
right.
I'll give you here's a camera and like this is a framework of how to like this is how my videos got successful. You start doing it this way, and you give me a cut. And then you start growing like a whole group, a big media group that way. Yeah.
Well, I want to do that with Tech Bandits, but I want to do that not for my own money, but because these are all kids who want to start doing streaming.
Yeah,
they all want to do streaming.
I love the idea of it being kids. That's super cool.
Yeah.
It's like, I feel, again, it comes back around to like that expectation. Not everybody's going to be Ninja, right?
No.
You're not going to have 500,000 people watching you tomorrow. But like, if you can just do what you love the most and have fun with it, that's great.
Well, and you're learning to socialize. You're learning good cyber citizenry. Like, you understand. You start seeing the problems that come up in the chat. You start learning how to deal with it.
That's huge. I've been running into that with. So my girlfriend has a couple of girls, and so they're my girls now too.
How old are they?
10 and 14.
Right. So Baz is 12. So right smack in the middle. Yeah.
And the teenager especially has been catching a lot of shit lately. Most from her IRL friends, but like it comes up, it spreads, right? It's people. It's also people she doesn't know. And like, man, I've been on the internet since 1995, and so I don't give a fuck what any of these weirdos say on the internet. You know, I've long ago learned my own like ethics and etiquette on the internet, and but it's so different for these kids now, and like it's so hard to instill. For me, it's been very difficult to instill that sort of like I don't give a shit attitude.
They should join us for Game Bandits sometime, because honestly, we need more women in game. We have so I've got Cal.
Buy her. She plays Fortnite on the Xbox, so like why not? I think it'd be super rough, because especially, you know, pretty girls, pretty women on Twitch catch so much, and it blows my mind sometimes, like death threats just for sitting there. Like, what the fuck, man?
Because they've got a lot of female streamers. It's like, crazy watching the stuff that gets said in their chat. Like, their moderators are working hard.
It's like they're getting death threats because they have too long nails while they're gaming. Like, it is toxic out there.
It's super bad.
And then also the other thing that's happening, I'm finding, is that the arguments that, like, so my son will get into arguments with people in a chat, which all of a sudden he's getting screen grabs sent to him of things he'd said before. Yep. And then people are responding to the chats on TikTok.
Yep. Yeah, so, that's a big one, is like they'll out of context clips. Yeah. Like
story of my life.
and then they'll do like reaction videos on TikTok or on YouTube and stuff, and it's like, man, you guys took like 3 words out of an entire like 10-minute rant. And that's not, like, you guys are completely missing why I said that or how that even came up. And it'll burn people to the ground.
Oh, my God. Luckily, the thing is that I always try to be very clear with people is, like, I play a genius on television. I'm a fucking idiot. Like, I love this stuff, but I'm not, like, it's that. So I just expect, like, I mean,
hey, that's blood in the water, though, David. Don't ever say that. Just act like you know everything.
No,
and then just bullshit your way through it.
I totally just. I know you're probably just goofy, but like, I am. I used to stream PC builds for the company I work for.
Oh wow! And where do you work? What is your day job thing? Are you allowed to say that? Or?
Oh sure, no. I work for a company called Puget Systems. We build high performance PCs for content creation, scientific computing, and engineering.
Oh my God! I've seen your ads.
I do. Oh,
you're in my Instagram feed, for God's sake.
That was an ad campaign we only just recently did. We've only just started down that path. I do social media and community management for them now.
Well done, because there's not a freaking thing that doesn't show up in my Instagram feed that I don't want to buy instantly.
Guess who their first influencer was, though, huh?
That's true.
Ooh,
I was the OG influencer, where the CEO of the company was like, "We're going to try it."
That's it right there, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's it right there, and that's it right there, and 2 more computers downstairs, and a laptop, and 1 other computer in the bedroom. So it's
while I was doing that, I made it very clear, like, I'm not a very technical person. I know how to put them together. I love the building part.
I know, it's so much fun.
But I don't dig into the minutia like I used to. Like, oh man, the IPC of Intel is better than AMD because of the way that the architecture.
Too much stuff.
I was out of the game for like 2-3 years, and it's too far away now. I can't.
Yeah, no, same for me.
I'll go to other people though. There are sources that I trust to get. That's a big thing. I'm not smart because I know all the answers. I'm smart because I know where to find answers.
But
and
that's
I'm good
the definition of smart. The definition of smart is someone who knows where to find
how to get it.
Where to find.
People love it. I was very humble about it. Like, hey, I don't know a lot of this stuff, and I'm willing to listen and take in that information. And I think that is the better way to go, because it comes back to that authenticity and people knowing the fakeness and that kind of thing. Yeah. It's like and I learn and other people learn. Because, like, not everybody in the chat knows all this stuff. I don't know. I'm willing to say I don't know. And
if you pretend you know, you don't learn anything. Like, that's my thing with the kids is always like screwed up. Great, you learned something. You didn't screw up. You haven't learned anything. It's like what a waste. That drives me.
Just because you failed doesn't mean you should stop.
I know, but
you're not going to be perfect at something right off the bat.
But that's one of the reasons why I started Tech Bandits, was because I was seeing kids will watch like YouTube videos and it goes like, okay, here's all the PC parts. Bloop. Oh, it's done. It works great.
I love the in between. That's, to me.
Well, but the kids don't. Because the kids go, it didn't work. Why isn't it as easy as that? It's frustrating. So one of the reasons for Tech Bandits was to go like, this isn't a black box that either works or doesn't work. These are things in here you got to play with. One of my like proudest achievements with this is that my go-to PC guy is a 13-year-old boy who started Tech Bandits with me 4 years ago.
That's awesome.
He'd never done this before. He tore apart a PC. Got so into it, started putting them back together again. I literally text him on Discord to be cool and say, dude, I want to buy a new system. What do I need? And he will go in and put together a system. Like it's fantastic.
That's so cool.
And he's got the time, right?
Yeah.
He's 13. He can be looking at all this stuff. He will know more than most of the professionals on this stuff because that's what he does.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lord Chunky is his online name. It's great.
Chunky.
I didn't realize you were doing Tech Bandits for 4 years. Well, a lot of people have been asking about this in chat. Why don't you explain Tech Bandits?
Like Tech Bandits is. I'm sorry, I don't want to we want to talk Neuralink too.
No, we're going to talk Neuralink. Don't worry. Right. We do this all the time. We're experts at just talking about whatever we want and then eventually get to the topic.
This is our channel.
That's why I have the squirrel cam. It's to represent how completely off topic I usually am with stuff. So Tech Bandits was so my son had hit grade, 3 or 4, and that's when I lost interest in school. And I saw him doing exactly the same thing. It was boring. The kids, my frustration was the kids come into school and they are just like curiosity machines. I mean, they're like contagiously curious about everything. And that just gets stomped out of them within 4 freaking years of school. They'd already, He's like, this is boring. I'm like, it's not boring. This is the most exciting stuff. Like there's so many opportunities to learn cool things here. Anyways, so he wanted to do PC gaming. I said, great. But if we're doing PC gaming, we're building a PC. So I spent the next 2 weeks making a PC. He came down with a sandwich every so often. Went, is it done yet? But in the process, a few things sort of clicked for him. But what really worked was that there were friends of his were showing up at the doorstep going like, your son's a liar. And I'm like, what? Oh, shit. What's he done now? And they're like, he says you're building a PC. And I'm like, yeah, well, no, we're building it in the basement. So I'd sort of invite them in and they'd be like, oh, cool. What's that do? What's this? What's that? Like they didn't know. They only knew consoles. And they were just black boxes you plugged things into and they work. So I was like, okay, this is a disaster waiting to happen. So I started bringing in old printers and computers, and we just started ripping shit apart at school. And that was it. That's all we did to start. But then I was working on a documentary that I wanted to do, which unfortunately never happened, but which was about assistive technology and the idea of cyborgs. And there's my friend Cooking with Q, Q has spinal muscular atrophy, but he does daily Instagram cooking videos, photos. It's freaking fantastic what this guy does. He's basically an experimental chef.
That's awesome.
But he can't move. So it's his caregivers doing it for him or his parents doing it for him because he lies in bed. He can only really move his wrist a little bit. So I was like, he wants to be a cyborg. And then the longer we talked, it became apparent that he didn't want to become a cyborg. He really wanted to become a cyborg suite. He really needed to become like he needed like a robotic suite to allow him to do the things that we take for granted, like hopping onto a stream, having a chat, talking, waving our arms around, making shit. So, but I was talking about this with the kids because the kids were asking me what I was doing, and I would talk about the assistive tech, and I started bringing some of the stuff in, and there was like this like light bulb moment where I was like, oh my God, the kids love this because they're seeing a direct connection between technology that they are bored about in school and an actual physical result in the world. Like, oh my God, robotic arms can move for people who can't move.
Yeah.
You know, the blind can walk through. So I set up Bluetooth beacons around the library, and I had them walk around with a phone, and it would like tell them where they were in the library.
I love it.
Or like we did what did I call it? I called it the was it Babs? The Babs sensor, blind as a bat sensor. We did like a little sonar sensor, and I tied like a blindfold around them, and they had to make their way around all the furniture and everything without hitting anything. That's so cool. So, and they loved it, and I loved it because it's just fun to play with. So I started sort of melding the two, and then I sort of made it official. I used to come in every week, and then And then I just started doing it officially. Like every week I would come in and we'd do like a lunch thing. But then there was like a strike this year. There was a teacher strike. So I wasn't allowed to go into the school to do it because because the teacher wasn't there. So I just had the kids to my house. So so my basement is full of kids. We just ordered like a field of pizza and we just pull stuff apart and build stuff. And I had microscopes and all this stuff is just stuff that the kids they can break, they can make whatever they want. And then COVID, and I was like, oh shit, now what do I do? So I started doing Zoom chats with the kids, and we would just do like little chats like this. But then I was like, okay. Then Black Lives Matter stuff started happening, and I was like, not started happening, or I became aware of it.
All of us have.
That's
the point.
I know I was like, wait a second, Rodney King was how long ago? 30 years ago, I thought we'd solved this, and we obviously. So I was like, okay, so my privilege is showing. So how do I open this up to more people? And I suddenly went, I'm a freaking idiot. We need to do this live. Like we need to be. So we started streaming our Tech Bandits sessions.
That's so cool.
So the kids basically come on as a voice chat. We just talk about different things. I do like some show notes every week, so there's at least we have a sense of things to talk about. But it's basically just me geeking out. And I admit right away, guys, I'm not teaching you anything. This is not a class. You want a dual screen? You game while we're talking. I'm totally fine with that. Like this is not learning. It's just us exploring stuff, and it is amazing. I just. Like we're talking about, like, what do you want to do for the rest of your life? I got it. That's it.
Perfect.
If I could do that every day, I would be the happiest man alive. Like it is so much fun.
That's cool that you don't put constraints on it. That's like that's what makes it fun. Is like you can do whatever you want. It can be whatever you want it to be. And that's why I like live streaming over making videos, even on like YouTube. Is it's like I don't have to pick a topic and stick to it. I can just let it fly and go wherever the audience takes me.
Yeah, you go where the audience goes, you go where the kids go. So my focus, Tuesday I'll have like a chat with people just in general, but Wednesday and Friday are like, I call it Game Bandits because I realize that most of the kids, they don't care about science. But if you put it in the framework of like streaming and gaming and all that kind of stuff, it's amazing what you can talk about scientifically if it relates to that stuff.
Yeah.
So basically that's what the entire time we've been on in COVID lockdown, I've been doing these like weekly. It's just been freaking amazing.
And this is on your Iron Ham TV on Twitch, right?
This is on Baz's Iron Ham channel. Yeah,
Got
Iron
it.
Ham. Yeah.
Yeah, so I linked that in chat for some people so they can go over there and they can give you a follow.
Oh, well, and if you want to see so I've got old ones in there as well. If they want to look at show notes and stuff, I've got a website called thetechbandits.com. And that's got everything you want to know about what's going on there. And it's an original, like, and I was trying to figure out how to do it because, there was some years I was like, my wife was like, is this costing you a lot of money? And so I tried charging the parents one year. And it was such a disaster because, we had like 15 kids signed up, but like 25 would show up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what am I going to do? I'm not going to turn kids. I'm not going to say, you didn't pay. Get out of the library, kid. Yeah. So I was like, okay, this is stupid. But that money paid for like my robots. So now we have like I had got like 4 robots that year. Whoa. So the kids all have like robots to work with.
Your mistake was not having billboards with ads written on them and just walking around periodically and like making them look at them.
That's it. I should have said, my my demographic is exactly the demographic you want. Kids between the ages of whatever. But then as soon as I started doing this season, I'm calling it a season, this season of Tech Bandits, I was also trying to work with this school called McCordick, which is for kids with developmental and physical disabilities. It's like basically like the last hope. It's basically where the kids go when no other school can have the resources for them.
Oh, okay.
Run by the coolest people doing just some amazing things. And I really wanted to sort of have my little privileged group of kids explore how they could work with kids that are not as sort of fortunate as they are. Things like they have a set. They have like an apartment set that they want to build that the kids can learn how to live on their own.
Hey, that's huge.
That's cool.
So I thought, perfect. My kids can paint. My kids can build little assistive things for them. We can build we had Xbox Canada sent us a whole bunch of these assistive Xbox controllers.
That thing is cool.
They are brilliant. So I had the kids playing with those, like having them try to figure that stuff out. But then again, we got shut down because of all the strikes and COVID and stuff. But that was the goal. But so I don't charge anymore. I set up a Patreon because I thought the parents would pay. They could pay what they wanted or what they could.
Yeah.
But the parents sucked at paying. The fans, like Stargate fans, were like amazing. So basically, the Stargate fans are paying for me to play with the kids. It's freaking great.
Just crowdsourced.
Cool,
love it.
Yeah, it's crowdsourcing. And again, it's so like $2 here or there. It's seriously. Like I keep saying like that. Well, that's why I do my Stargate streams. Is I'm like, thank you. I will watch Stargate with you. That's like my way of saying like, you're the best. So
that's cool. That's really cool.
So it's been like, it's like talking about warm fuzzy feelings. I just like. And it's such a deal for me because I'm just doing what I like doing anyways. Like, everyone's like, oh, you're doing a good thing. I'm like, yes, it's very, very important.
Right?
I'm playing with robots.
I love it. That's so cool.
Hey, NFG Nader, thank you for the super chats. He said, is David doing a Burn and Learn series?
Oh God.
What the hell is a Burn and Learn series?
Okay, so this is my attempt to try to guilt myself into staying fit. So I thought...
Well, that failed me, obviously. But
I haven't done one for months. So basically the idea was I would, as soon as I got off my torture device, I would record a video and talk about what I was learning while I was doing it. So basically, my rule was I had to learn something while I was doing my exercise. It felt like a waste of time. I couldn't incorporate it in my day unless I felt like I got something out of it other than just exercise. Yeah. Exercise feels like a waste of time to me. It's like looking after the meat. I don't care about the meat. This is what I.
Hey,
like.
David, you should care about the meat.
The meat,
trust me.
Going.
Don't get here.
You gotta take care of your biomech.
I know, but the biomech is such a pain. It's just so boring to do the biomech stuff.
The servos start getting all loose and cracking and popping and stuff, and the arms just don't move the same.
I'm freaking grandpa compared to you guys. I can tell you about creaks and groans that you don't want to know about. But the idea was I would just record, I was sweating, I was drooling, and I would just say like, I just read this book, it's freaking great, or whatever. And that was just my way of like, so if they didn't see a video, they knew I didn't exercise, was the idea. And it kind of worked until COVID. And then Jane got me doing some yoga, and then yoga threw me off schedule. Yeah. And now we got the dog, so I figure that's exercise. I don't know. I
want to get into yoga, man. I sit in this chair and stuff all the time, and like I feel like
it's surprisingly, for a guy who hasn't done it in about 6 months, it's surprisingly exhausting. Yeah. And you start, it's kind of addictive. Like you wake up the next morning, you're like, I feel like I got to stretch properly. I'm not. We started doing this there was like a free Peloton thing.
Yeah.
And
that's the bike thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Except you don't I don't buy that bike stuff. They have a whole yoga section where they do, and that's actually, I'm sure there's better ones out there, but the Peloton one, I kind of like them. You find the ones you want. There's some of the instructors are better than others. They're all ridiculously attractive people to watch doing yoga. So that's male, female. They're definitely works of art unto themselves, and they are far more flexible than I ever will be. But my wife and I were doing it together, so it was just kind of like it was a bonding thing as well, right? So
yeah, I did hot yoga once. That was pretty awesome. Like,
oh, God, but don't you just like?
I mean, you literally feel like you're breathing other people's hot breath the entire time, so it's not really COVID friendly. But back in the day, it was pretty. It like gets you loosened up, and when you're all tight and everything, you go in there, you're like, wow, man, I'm all flexible. Wacky wave arm inflatable tube, Barnacules.
I cannot exercise around other people. I just can't do it. It's like, it's hard enough for me to eat around people other than on streams for some reason.
Mukbang.
But exercise, like I can't do gyms. I'm just like, I'm the nerd. I'm the guy. I'm just convinced someone's going to come up and beat me up for using the machine improperly.
Actually, the only time I was ever really successful in the gym was when I was live streaming it, and then I got shut down by my gym because like somebody complained. Yeah. There's only like 3 people in my gym ever. It was this tiny little gym, so I'd always stream, and I always have the camera facing up so you couldn't see anybody else in the gym, just me on the treadmill. and or not. No, sorry, it was an elliptical glider. And I found that
that's what I use.
Yeah, so it's low impact, right? So I got on that thing, and before I was live streaming, I was only able to go about 10-15 minutes, and I was just dead. Like, I could not go any further than that. My first live stream I ever did, I went 2 hours and 10 minutes continuously at a brisk pace, and when I stepped off the machine, I collapsed.
Wow.
Like, it wrecked me, but because I was streaming, you just forget about it, and you don't think about it, and you just keep going and going and going and going, and people are engaging, you're reading the chat, you're responding to people, you're talking, you totally forget about the monotony and the pain of what you're doing, and time just accelerates infinitely.
That's interesting, because I wondered about actually streaming the exercise. I just thought, does anybody want to see that for me?
Yes.
Like, I am,
The answer is always yes. Like I said, there's an audience for everything. And Twitch actually has a specific section for fitness streams.
Really?
Yeah.
Do they they should have a separate section for unfitness. That would be my heading.
Well, it's like the distraction. That's why I can sit in this chair for a long period. My back is so shot. Like, if I just come up here and I'm programming or something, all I can think about is how bad my back hurts after an hour. I can do this for 4 or 6 hours, and then I get up and I'm like crippled. But during the stream, I don't feel a lot of pain.
What do you think it is? Is it ego? Is it like, what is it that we love about this? Like, what is it?
Well, I mean, we're all attention whores. You don't get into this business unless you want attention, good, bad, or otherwise. But I think it's
like those actors who say they don't want, please, no photos. It's like, shut up.
They're like, please, no photos. Get my good side. Please, no photos. But if you're gonna,
I think it's partly because there isn't actually anybody physically close. It eliminates the like social anxiety aspect. Public speaking, speaking fear. It depends. I don't like going to like a party, like a house party. I never liked that. But I've done a few panels where like I'm sitting up in front of a room full of people.
I love that. I love it too.
It's like it's the best live content you can do. I freaking love it. As long as I'm not like scripted, right? I don't know. I get weirded out when the scripting part.
I'll be right back.
So I think part of it is there isn't anybody around, right? And I think the live aspect too is once you've made a mistake, you just keep pushing. You don't have to. You don't stop. And
that's like theater's a bit like that too, isn't it? Mm-hmm.
There's low it's like a low risk interaction. The people in chat can't hurt you. Like if they get mad, they can't just bop you in the face or whatever. You also have a lot of control over what happens in your space. Like you can ban them or whatnot, or just ignore them completely. Like there are bunches of streams out there where they don't interact with the chat at all. Right. Like
I still haven't figured out how to get the chat working on here, by the way.
Oh, are you you on this?
I guess because there's such a delay. I'm looking at the Skype stuff, so I'm not really seeing the. I'm assuming if any questions come up, there's.
Go to the link there I put into the text chat on the Skype. That'll bring you to the YouTube stream, and then below the video is the chat, the text chat.
Yoicks! I see that's doing that.
Oh yeah, you want to mute that.
Yeah, sorry. Hang on a sec. Let me get that. Shoot.
People that stream and don't interact with the chat are boring. It depends on the content. So like D&D streams, I feel like they shouldn't interact with the chat. They should be playing the game, and you're there to kind of watch. But it just depends on.
Wait a second. I've got it for some reason.
90% will not be good. Oh, sure.
I've got like a brutal echo happening here. What is going on?
Oh, the stream is playing.
Oh. Sorry, I had to go make with the Tinkle Waters.
It's all good.
I just don't know where it's playing. That is so weird.
Hey, NFG Nader, thank you so much for the $10 chat and the $5 chat, dude. We appreciate it.
You have like a million tabs open?
Yeah.
That's it.
What are you guys looking for?
Yeah, it's so weird.
Are they in deep thought?
I see. It's open. No, you know what it is? It's because I'm on a freaking Mac, so it opens Safari. Of course, I never use Safari. Like I never look to see if that's open or not.
That's what it was.
All right, let me try that again then. All right.
What are you guys trying to do? I missed it.
Oh, I was missing the chat.
The text chat. So
gotcha.
The stream.
You got to see the chat. Oh, hey, there's a Peter Bergen chat. Unrelated. Hey, Lynn Force, thank you for the 100 sexes and another 100 sexes. Thank you, Barnacules, for your channel. Love it. I'm a big nerd. Want to give a shout out to the Puget website and some awesome information on it. BR Andre. You guys are awesome.
There we go. Now I can see it.
Yeah. All right.
There, you got some chat now?
I got some chat.
All right, we currently have 385 viewers in here. Shall we?
Good.
Finally talk about the Neuralinks.
Yeah. All right.
All right, you guys ready to dive into this? Let me record the time index so I can put this in the index so people complaining when I post this live. They'll be like, where's the Neuralink conversation?
Where's the Neuralink? I don't care about that.
We talk about things how we want to talk about them. Yeah. So before we go completely into Neuralink, I think a good transitional thing is, how many people here have heard of the new term transhumanism?
It's an old term.
Old term. Well, old term, but
I would say
new application. Old term, new application, right? So basically, I mean, like, I guess a cyborg would fall kind of under transhumanism. Anything that you do to manipulate a human, basically, to merge it with something else, or change it, or upgrade it, or make it something more.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. So that's kind of like the foundation of this Neuralink thing. How many people in chat, by the way, have seen the live stream? I haven't watched the whole thing. I've only watched about the first 45 minutes of the live stream Elon Musk gave.
Didn't watch any of it.
I love that he named the pig Gertrude, though. I thought that was hilarious. Like, I think that's a name that a pig should have.
It's definitely a good, and I love that she didn't do what she was told.
Right. Like, you could tell Elon was like nervous too. He's like, why is she doing this in rehearsals? She always came out. What's going on?
He's just,
he's so awkward,
billionaires, billionaires all sound like androids, like bad first generation androids.
He literally sounds like he's high, because I mean he probably is, but it's just so funny watching Elon talk, because he'll do these big high profile events, lights and everything going on, all this crazy stuff, and he's like, hi, how you doing today? We got this amazing this pig over here. It's like, hey Gertrude, come out. Oh, look, it's a pig. Ha, that's funny. Look at this pig. Ha. Yeah, we put a chip in, and you're just like, this is a dude that has billions of dollars that is like putting us on Mars, landed a rocket on its ass end when NASA said it was stupid, and made a car that can drive itself, that can out-accelerate like $1 million supercar from like 0 to 60. Like, come on, dude. Like, credit where credit's due.
Skylink, whatever it's called.
Skylink, internet to the world.
Yeah.
He has more good ideas than bad ideas. He does have some bad ideas, though, because the Hyperloop is seemingly kind of still a failure. But to be fair, that was an idea that he recycled from somebody else and he just gave to the public. Like, he never pursued that one himself.
And Henry Ford made a few mistakes too, so you know. Right.
Yeah, but that shows the difference between like an engineer and marketing person, though.
That's it. Yeah, I feel a bit like it's like all of a sudden entrepreneur. It's like that. It's that time in music where suddenly people had to be all these like ugly bands who are really good musicians were suddenly like, oh shit, you want to point a camera at us?
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden videos took off. All of a sudden now billionaires have to be like camera ready, and I in a way I wish it wasn't as slick. I wish he could just go like, all right, hey guys, like. Almost relax into it.
I think the best when they were showing the Cybertruck and the window cracked. Like, first off, okay, maybe that's not exactly what they were trying to show, but you go out to your driveway and throw a cannonball at your side window and see what happens. Okay, it still did what they said on the tin. Okay, like, but I love when stuff like that. When they'll be in the middle of a game. His response was great,
though. Do you remember his response to that when it shattered the window?
No, I didn't.
He goes, okay, well, that was an idea. We got some work to do there. And then he just moved on, and he's like, throw it at the back window. Even though it failed once, he's like, fucking double down, and it failed again. He didn't even care. He just kept moving on. I was like, dude, respect.
Do you think like after the stream, he was like, I'll kill you all?
He's like you're fired, and you're fired.
Yeah. No. You don't think so? It'd be instantly into what went wrong. How do we fix it?
Oh, good.
I don't think he'd be not the Steve Jobs sort of like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
No, I think it'd be just instantly back.
I can see him
because there was behind the scenes video of them practicing, and it worked fine. It just bounced right off.
Really?
And so it's like, okay, why was it? Because we beat it up a few times. I think it would have been instantly into what went wrong. How do we fix it?
Yeah,
he's an engineer. He doesn't.
Well, they're all about rapid development, right? I mean, Elon Musk has said for all of his projects, it doesn't matter. Even the boring machines that he creates for the boring company for making the tunnels, they rapidly iterate that stuff. Like, they'll build something that's $100 million and it won't work at all, and they'll study what happened and just build another prototype. Like, they're about.
Well, that's the beauty of having that kind of funding.
Same thing with Falcon 9. Falcon 9 was just a massively fast iterative process. Look at Starship now. Like Starship, like while they're testing one, they're already building like three versions ahead, so that whatever they learned from that version 3 times ago or whatever, they're already anticipating it and building it into the new one, but they still need to test it and see if it actually happens. And so they're just rapidly developing, because it turns out that it's actually cheaper to do that than the way NASA does it with this massive research, massive testing, all this stuff. It's easier to just blow stuff up and throw it away and, build cheap stuff, blow it up, than build really, really expensive stuff after doing a bajillion hours of R&D. And you end up with something that's equally as safe. And I mean, the Falcon platform is like really safe, like compared to even like, even if you look at Saturn V, right? I mean, it is a rock solid platform. It is cheap to operate. And now they got the thing to where they can like launch these things and reuse them, like up to 10 times.
Yeah,
that's crazy for the money.
No, it's amazing.
Using. So
I just think we should stop hurling back. We should stop hurling humans into space. I think this should all be done robotically. It just seems like such a waste of. Just seems like a waste of money. Like, what's the point? We're not supposed to be out there. Robots can do a way better job out there than we can. Put on a pair of goggles. It's like we're all there.
Well, yeah, but we can't all be on here forever. We got to go somewhere else.
David, I got to tell you something that's going to break your heart, buddy. And that is, science has figured out that the sun is eventually going to consume the Earth. So we gotta get the fuck off this planet, or we're all gonna die in, I don't know, a couple billion years. So I'm just saying, at some point we're gonna have to move somewhere else. The trailer park does shut down at some point.
I got news for you. We're the ones staying. The only people leaving are the frickin' billionaires. Right. We'll be here, kiddo.
The whole universe is just populated with pretentious assholes because all the good people got stuck behind.
You need a hell of a lot of more paid chats to get off this planet, my friend.
Not until they make sure they're gonna send plebs first to make sure to die on Mars before they send the rich folk. They don't want to just.
You know what's going to happen is they're going to send the poor people, right? They're going to land on Mars, and then they're just going to like shut everything down and stop receiving. Like when the rich people are ready to come, they're going to be like, "No, we already got the colony all figured out here. We're good.
We're good.
Shut
thanks.
it down."
Yeah, we finished 3D printing our colony. It's very nice. Thank you.
Thanks for all the fish.
I feel like I don't know. I just worry that when you become a billionaire, the first thing you want to do is leave the planet. Like I think that's
a uniquely Elon thing, though. That is definitely like I don't see anybody else doing that.
Yeah,
I don't think Bezos would leave.
No, because Bezos is doing the same thing.
Oh, is he? Did he say he'd go to Mars?
Isn't Bezos doing, doesn't he have he's got another space company of some sort.
Yeah, but he wants to stick humans on those and send them into space, not himself. Elon's like using everybody else as a hamster so he can be the one on it when it finally like goes to Mars to the built colony. Right. He wants to be the one to go there and just live there.
Right.
And I could totally see him doing that because he's the type of person where I think he'd be like right at home on like a little colony with like 3 buildings and an oxygen tank, and that would be just fine for him.
He'd be quite happy with a good internet connection. Yeah, for sure.
He would. He'd be like, nobody can reach me. This is great. Well,
it's like Richard Branson. I'm surprised Richard Branson hasn't sort of strapped himself to one of the rockets yet. I mean,
he will. That's what I mean. He will.
That's what I mean. They're going to test it out on the plebs first, make sure it works, blow up a bunch of poor people, or send them off across the ocean, right? Like. And then, if they didn't make it, well, we'll just try again with some other folk who volunteer. There's plenty of folk already signed up for a one-way trip to Mars.
There was a great TED Talk, and I can't remember who did it. I'll have to find it. But and he was talking about. He said we've got to stop thinking about surviving these missions and start thinking about them as possible end-of-line missions. Like basically, Christopher Columbus, who admittedly didn't discover America, but hi guys, I discovered you. But he went off on a mission that he didn't know what was going to happen. There was no guarantee of safety back, and that's the difference I think between NASA and someone like Elon Musk, where you're going like, NASA has to be able to go back and do all the paperwork saying it blew up, but here's where we spent the money and here's the safety stuff.
The ROI, thing.
I mean, that's like basically we need to start if we want to truly go and explore new planets. We have to understand that some people won't come back.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
And that's not to be callous, but that's okay. I mean,
I think as long as if that's a decision that they're making,
And even in the early days of space travel, I think they did understand that or accepted that because like we didn't know what was on the moon. There could have been bugs or weird diseases and stuff, and like we didn't know. And I think that they.
I got news for you. We're the weird disease,
right?
Well, I know like the bug. I think it was the first Russian cosmonaut they said had like way less than a 50% chance of getting to space, let alone even coming back.
Oh, yeah, think of all the steps.
All those dogs and they killed all those dogs and monkeys at that point.
Right. They sent them up there like, okay, we got to send a bigger monkey. Like the chimp can't reach the stop lever, so Grigori, get in. Going for a ride,
what's
buddy.
So funny is that so much of it is automated anyways. That most of those missions didn't need humans in them anyways. They just, I mean. It was all the stunt pilots trying to prove that we need a window, so at least it looks like we're piloting this thing.
Right. Well, it's like today, right? The Falcon 9 carrying, not Starship, what's it called? The Dragon capsule. So the Dragon capsule is 100% automated. Literally, those guys were just going for a ride. Where they were playing with stuff on the screens, they were just like checking systems and looking at stats and everything. The entire launch to docking was 100% hands off.
They were just doing Clash of the Clans. They were just checking in with their Clash of the Clans.
Exactly. Yeah, they're like, Mob. Oh, damn it! It hung. The thruster's stuck open. Shit. What do we do, Elon?
I feel like that's the best way to go. Like, you should only have the human intervention if something goes wrong.
Exactly.
Like early on, we didn't have the math or whatever. Like we didn't know how any of this re-entry stuff would work and all that. And so, but now we've done this a million times. We know exactly how to do it. The robots can do it faster. The machines can adjust the little rockets and all this stuff to keep everything just so faster. Human interaction would just muck things up.
No, we're the slow. Yeah, we're the bottleneck for sure.
Look, man.
Dude, it didn't even have a joystick, though. Could you imagine if something goes wrong and you got to operate the thrusters on a fucking touchscreen with a glove on? They're doomed.
That's it. Yeah. It would be...
You're dead, man.
And so, but
eventually these systems will get so smart that you just won't even, it's like, it'll
be like primary system failed, tertiary system kicking in, tertiary system failed, tertiary system or whatever the hell you say.
And it's got to be a sexy British voice. Basically.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. And by like the 14th system, it's like, push thruster, thruster go burn.
Or just like it just hands you food.
There you go.
There. Here's a burger.
Yeah, you have 15 minutes to enjoy the rest of the dehydrated food on board before you suffocate to death.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
Who knew WALL-E was a documentary film?
It's straight up like Spaceballs, right? Remember on Spaceballs where the computers like tell them, okay, get ready to kiss your ass goodbye or whatever. In 3, 2, 1. Just kidding. 3, 2. I love that movie. So we got rockets.
Neuralink.
You got the cars, and we kind of the reason I wanted to talk about all that first is because we want to establish that Elon has a pretty damn good record of delivering on his ideas. For his faults, like Hyperloop, still not really tangible, but he kind of knew that, and I think that's why he pawned it off and he didn't develop the technology himself. Is he was like, okay, listen, this is a really hard problem because you have to have a giant vacuum chamber, and giant vacuum chambers are a pain in the ass to build and maintain, especially over hundreds of miles. So go figure it out. Let Richard Branson spend all of his money on that idea. But the things he has spent money on that have been successful is you got the Boring Company, which is, they literally do what they say they do. They bore through the ground. They make tunnels. Cheaper than usual. Some people are mad saying, oh, it's not any cheaper than conventional. No, it is. It actually is quite a bit cheaper, the techniques that they use. You have everything he touches seems to be gold too, like the flamethrower and little things like that, like the stock price, the way that he gets people amped up. He's just really good at what he does. He's kind of like he's a confidence man. I mean, a con man in a way, because he gets people to just throw all this money and come in. I mean, Tesla was a failure. The Roadster was a failure. It broke. Every single one of them that was ever sold broke, and then they had to recall them all and rebuild them, and they still broke. That's why you never see them on the road anymore, is because even if you fix all the flaws with them, they're still incredibly expensive cars to run because of those inherent architectural flaws. But then he still got better. Yeah, but then he had people come back after that whole company failed and collapsed. He still got more investors to say, listen, he's on to something. And now he's got uncontested, that is the most popular electric car in the world. Like Porsche now has tried to follow in their footsteps. Volkswagen, Ford has an electric. BMW has several electrics. It's like every company in the world follows them now.
Yeah.
And so he owns that market. And then he's got the rockets, so he's got the space market down, and the internet, which is going to... So I feel like he's kind of cornering the market of technology in general, because he's got transportation to space and on Earth, right, terrestrial. He's got internet. He's going to have an internet provider that'll be the only ISP on Earth that's transcontinental and all interconnected as one entity. So no more of this crap where you have to have different cells and different ISPs communicating to each other, and different people owning different infrastructure. He will literally own a global internet network that'll be accessible on 90% of the planet when he's done, when it's deployed, right? And he's already proved that he can do it.
And he'll be able to beam it to the moon. He'll be able to do this. He's basically going to be the internet provider for both the planet and any interplanetary stuff that we're doing as well.
Just totally corner in the market, right? So he owns transportation. He can put up there. He can put satellites in orbit cheaper than anybody else. So anything he wants to do in space, he'll be able to undercut anybody else easily.
Yeah.
Putting people in space, he's going to corner the market on that. So other countries are going to come to us to put cosmonauts in space and on the International Space Station. The International Space Station is going to experience another boom in rapid development because of Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy. So because you have all these things now, after he's cornered that and he's got transportation, he's got internet, which is our communication between everything. Now the last frontier is the human brain. Because it's like he's got the internet, he's got all these things that the internet can control. The car is tied into the internet, the Falcon 9, all this stuff is all tied together. And now he's like, okay, we just got to stick chips in people's heads. And boy, did this scare people. Yeah, people are really, really afraid of this idea because I've been kind of monitoring what people are talking about on Twitter, and people are deathly afraid of this idea because if you think about it, it's like that is a scary prospect, especially with sci-fi and everything. It's a scary prospect having something put in your head that not only can read, your mind more or less at its maximum potential, but it can also manipulate your brain. It can it's read and write.
That's it, man. I've seen. So it's kind of tangential, but they can put a little cap on you, and with the right manipulation of magnetic fields, they can turn off your right and wrong. They can.
Hang on, I'll grab it. Hang on.
Yeah, so this is mainstream technology. You can actually buy this for your computer, and I know exactly what he's going to go grab. So yeah, that is that the thing that has the temporal sensor that goes on your head?
This is the OpenBCI Ultra Cortex. So this is I have my kids using
that's
this.
it. Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah. We were trying to figure out if we could tell whether people were lying or not with it. I had the kids put this on. So it's 3D printed. You got a little unit at the back here, but this is the base EEG model stuff. But from a kid's perspective, and from a nerd's perspective, you're basically reading brainwaves. You're picking up on signals. So it's I want to figure out how to put it on my dog, and then when I can see this, when I know that she's about to pee, I could sort of maybe just jab her with something.
Red light goes off.
Yeah, something like that. Sorry, I totally jumped on that, but I've been playing with this stuff for a while now. I love, and you were talking about the issue that people get freaked out about things in their heads. People get freaked out about the whole cyborg thing as well, because I think it's almost like a Judeo-Christian thing. There's this sanctity of the human body,
taking the humanity away. Yeah,
it's okay to replace a limb if they're missing it, but it's not okay for someone to choose to put a better limb on themselves. Yeah. It's if we're not controlled by the brain that we have, if we are truly just electrical signals, there goes religion, there goes God, there goes there's a lot of problems there, right?
Yeah, it's nobody wants science to progress to the point where you can quantify humanity, because once you understand how it works and you understand how the machine works, then you ruin that illusion.
And digitizing emotion, digitizing love. What happens if you hit the right signals and you are now in love with someone?
Yeah, right? it's called Viagra. It's already exists, right?
Well, there are those kind of reductive sort of discussions where love really is just a combination of the neurochemicals in your brain and a certain sort of attachment that oxytocin, dopamine, and all those sort of things in the right combinations. And so you could probably that classic love potion trope, right, where you drink the thing and the next person you see you love. That's not unreasonable to be okay, close your eyes. We're going to put this thing in your brain, close your eyes, and then push a button, open your eyes, and now the right flood of chemicals, and now you have an attachment to the next thing you see. And that I feel like if we go down this path in the right way, that's not unreasonable to assume. We do that in a very clumsy sort of way with pharmaceuticals as it is. You take the right pill and you'll just feel happy all the time.
Yeah, and the pill isn't carrying the neurotransmitter. The pill is just making your body create more of it. So you're still creating it. It's just controlling. If you take mescaline and your aggression goes up, or you take something like MDMA, and you get an overwhelming feel, everything's colorful and you feel great. Good. All those things are just, massive neurotransmitter bursts in your brain, dopamine, serotonin, things of that nature. And so all you're doing with Neuralink is you're basically just cutting out the chemical stimulation to the neurons and replacing it with electrical stimulation of the neurons. and you end up getting the same result. Like, it should be indistinguishable. Being able to stimulate your brain into making more of a neurotransmitter should be indistinguishable to you from using a drug to achieve the same effect.
Yeah. Well, it's like the deep brain, like they talk about the deep brain stimulant. Basically, they were using it for people with like Parkinson's and stuff, where they can actually they jolt the brain and people go from like full tremors to like nothing.
Yeah, because they found out, what is it, like the neurotransmission is too weak. The signal's too weak. And by hitting the area with a little bit of pulse of electricity, it strengthens the neurotransmitters, and so the tremors start simmering down because you're able to get smoother output. Basically, you're not getting this really noisy output from your brain. But
I don't think anyone's going to argue with that stuff,
right?
I mean, no one's got a problem with like fixing that. Well, I mean, yeah.
I mean, literally, people are up in arms about like CBD, which is like not even the active component of THCP is the psychoactive component in marijuana, but CBD is completely like inert and harmless. It's one of the most tested freaking things, and people are like, and it stops tremors in some children. In Parkinson's, it's really good at stopping tremors and stopping seizures. That's one of the biggest uses that they found for it, is it stops seizures, especially in children. For some reason, they don't fully understand it yet, but people are just freaking out about it because of what it comes from. They don't care about how it was extracted. They don't care about the science behind it. They're like, just because of where it came from, it's demonized. Or
the morphine that the kids are given if they actually fall and hurt themselves and have to be hospitalized. Or, you know what I mean? Like, it's
like, dude, that comes from the same poppy plant as like heroin. So come on. It's like, you got to look at it for the actual use and the actual result, and not try to demonize it because of like, where it came from. As a matter of fact, a lot of medications that we use today come from very poisonous and very deadly things, and that turns out being why they're so useful. Cancer treatments and stuff like that. Hell, there's one that comes from like a jellyfish, like the sting, the component that stings you from a jellyfish. They can actually use that as a pseudo cancer treatment for like attacking cancer cells.
Well, we're putting botulism in our face to have nice lips and stuff. Like, I mean,
exactly. So it's more the use than where it comes from. Now, the Neuralink thing, the cap that you had there, reminds me of the same thing that they used on me when I went and did my sleep study to get my CPAP. And what it does is it basically just monitors the electrical impulses on the surface of your brain. It can't really go that deep.
It's not terribly accurate.
And there's really no resolution to it other than, it can pick up a burst of magnetism or whatever or it's not even magnetism. It's just a burst of electricity at a very, very low voltage across your head. But the problem with that is you can only tell, like, hey, is my hypothalamus stimulated? Is this part of my brain stimulated? Like, it's very big. So you can't say, am I thinking of a sandwich or am I thinking of a hot dog? It's just, am I hungry? And even then, you can't even go to that resolution with that. You might even get to the thing where it's like maybe you're tired. That's about the best it can do. Or if you're trying to move something on a screen, if you think left or think right, you literally have to do that over and over and over again to train it. But the problem is, think left is the same as 100,000 other things. Like if you just sit there,
you're picking up so much noise.
It's
so hard to.
It's the noise. It's because there's a lot of other things going on. It's like not having the right frequency on a radio.
Right.
You're picking up a lot of static and other signals and stuff. If you can narrow it down or look at the right place, or pull out the right frequency, and that's why you have to do those repetitions, is because they start seeing the same pattern over and over and over.
Right.
Plus, there's a difference between like thinking the word left and imagining moving your arm to the left, or my thumb pushing a joystick. And so like you have to be very, very specific and very, very repeatable in order to get those patterns correct. Because there's so many other signals and stuff.
But the only thing that can do with accuracy, that thing, is really just tell whether you're thinking or not. I mean, at the end of the day, that's
a general sense. It's like the temperature of the room rather than the temperature of the thing you're actually trying to get a temperature of. I mean, the other thing is that they've noticed is that it's not just we have this like obsession with the brain being the control center, but we're realizing more and more that it's the brain into the whole
system,
the whole spinal system. Yeah,
because there's so much of the input is necessary to keep everything straight.
Yeah, a lot of your neurons too in your nervous system and stuff like go down through your spinal cord. So there's a lot going on in that spinal cord that you may not even realize. Like, you know, think of it like a hub on a network, right? To like distribute the signals and things like that. So Neuralink, what makes it radically different from like the nets of old that go on your head, and even when I did the sleep study, they actually stuck electrodes directly onto my scalp with like the sticky like glue stuff because they had to get a perfect signal. And they put 100 of them on my head, my whole head, and you just see this giant wad of wires coming off, and it's velcroed to strap across my back. So that I don't rip them out.
The new Open BCI has, I think, has like, you know, something like 10 times as many of
these.
And
it's a lot.
And is a cap that you actually gel onto your head.
Yeah, and they showed me after I slept. Yeah, because the gel means that it conducts so much better. You don't need to be, you can be less sensitive. And so you can get less noise basically because you're picking up more of the signal from your head, not just the surrounding noise. But the cap that they put on me,
that hair.
Yeah, they showed, dude, it was so bad getting all that crap out of my hair. For like 2 weeks, I was picking crap out of my hair, no matter how many times I washed. And they told me that would happen. They're like, just expect for like 2 weeks, you're gonna feel like little balls of like rubber boogery stuff coming out of your hair. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. But they showed me what happened.
Yeah.
Afterwards, they showed me the data on the computer over the night. They showed me a time lapse of my sleeping, and they could tell when I was in deep sleep or I wasn't in deep sleep based on how active a certain part of my brain was. It didn't tell them like anything beyond just the basically voltage, like how the more neurons firing, the higher the voltage potential. So they know when I was sleeping deeply, when I was sleeping shallowly, and they could tell when I was awake, because when you're awake, a whole different part of your brain lights up. So they were able to show me this like in a graphical representation of all the data that was recorded off those sensors. And I was like, man, this is really cool. But the thing
when you move into REM, you get different signals from
They could literally tell even when I only came out of REM sleep for 5 seconds, they could record that 5 seconds and cumulatively tell me how long I was in REM sleep and with absolute pinpoint accuracy. And it was pretty amazing. But the thing with Neuralink that takes this to a really crazy level is, one, all those other technologies, including the thing you have there, they can only read, they cannot write. They can only detect signals, they cannot send them.
That's it. Yeah, it's completely passive.
Right? The Neuralink has a freaking FPGA supercomputer in it, and has 1,024 threads that go over an inch into your brain. So each one of these little threads, it's like, dude, it's literally like a microscopic sewing machine, this robot that puts them into your head. And
so it looks like hair implants. It looks like you've just had like a hairpiece put in.
There's like the way it works. So as they cut out a circle out of your skull, basically with like a hole cutting saw. They peel back the skin, they cut a little hole, and then they put the Neuralink in there. But before they drop the Neuralink in, which replaces the skull piece right there, your skull basically grows around the Neuralink and grabs it. But there's 1,024 little hairs that are they're tiny. I think they said they're like 4 nanometer across or something like that. They're tiny. Like this computer drives them down into this robot arm drives them down into your brain about an inch into your actual brain tissue. And each one of those can detect a cluster of neurons, and they can actually detect by you going through the process with it and being like, I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about this. They can place those little probes exactly where they expect them to be when your brain is thinking or doing a certain thing.
And so it avoids any blood vessels or veins.
It's magic. Yeah. It can literally,
honestly, that was, I think, one of the most impressive parts of the whole thing was that robotic surgical system that could have that kind of precision.
It makes Da Vinci look stupid. Like the Da Vinci surgery system looks like it was made by a 4-year-old out of like Lego Mindstorm.
Yeah, it looks like one of those Star Wars medical droids.
Exactly. Exactly. So the idea being is the process is you're going to go in, you're going to sit in a chair. And they're going to secure your head because it has to be perfectly still. But then this robot is basically going to be monitoring and moving this little needle that you can't even freaking barely see with the human eye, that's going to be placing one thread after another, like a sewing machine. And each one of these little things for the Neuralink, you can have multiple Neuralinks too. This is just for one Neuralink. So whatever you want to do with that Neuralink, they select the portion of the brain where that's where the neurons would be firing. And they sync 1,024 of these probes per Neuralink. So you can have multiple. So it syncs it down, and then what they can do is they can start calibrating it. And that's where they can go through and basically detect what neurons are firing up depending on what you're doing, and they can calibrate it to what you're doing. But all they can detect, this is the thing people don't understand, is it's not going to like read, it's not at the point where it can like read your mind. Because keep in mind that the probes are still too big, even at like 4 nanometer or whatever, they're still too big to connect to a single neuron. And until
the fidelity is just not there.
The fidelity is not there.
A lot of noise, right?
Right, you get a lot of noise.
Pick up a lot of just signal.
But the difference being is you can pick up, an area that's the, 1/100th the size of a pinhead instead of the ones, the skull caps that pick up an area that's the size of a quarter.
Yeah.
So now
and
that
picks up any
fidelity is
movement
crazy.
and anything, like
Yeah. So the cool thing is, all this thing does at its core, and what makes it really simple, and this is why you can look at the equipment and be like, software is 99% of this. Like the robot is important for installing it, but the technology itself is actually rather simple. It's literally an FPGA supercomputer with a bunch of probes that are just little wires that go into your head and pick up electrical impulses. That's all it is. It's basically on and off. It's literally like a binary on and off when it detects something called a neuron spike. So when your neurons get above a certain potential, it triggers it as a 1, basically. Otherwise, it's a 0. And then based on how many neurons in the cluster are stimulated, it gives you basically a value, like a weighted value. So you can be like, if that part of your brain where the Neuralink is super stimulated in a certain quadrant, it'll bring up the potential and the neurospikes will be higher. Whereas if it's noise, it'll be lower. And the software is what's doing all the filtering. It's AI that's taking this random screaming data that's coming out of your head and making some sense out of it. But the thing that they've achieved that the bald cap hasn't been able to do is 2 things. One, they can actually detect in the pig where each one of its joints is positioned like a servo, which is pretty cool. And they demo this in their actual live stream. They put 2 or 3 Neuralinks into a pig that monitor the 2 front legs and basically the motor cortex of the brain that drives the rear legs and the front legs. And they show the pig moving its legs, and they put external sensors to show, the pig, how it's moving its arm. And then the brain, they can actually filter the data by the pig doing this. They can filter it, and they can figure out exactly where in space it is from the neurons in the brain. And so they showed like a 3D model of the pig walking on a treadmill, and it's almost perfectly overlaid with the data that's coming from the actual like servos that are detecting the physical leg movement. So the fact that you can do that, you could literally wire up a human, like for VR, you'd put this in your head, and if you're doing virtual reality, you would no longer need tracking. You could, in theory, track every joint in your fingers, your wrist, even with their current technology, fingers, wrist, elbows, and shoulders. And you could literally do this in VR, and it would be a perfect 1-to-1 movement wirelessly transmitted.
Wow.
So it's amazing. That is wild.
And then the other thing that
I'm guessing, is it Bluetooth? How does it communicate?
It is actually Bluetooth.
How really? Wait. What about the security on that?
Dude, this is people are gonna hack each other and kill each other with this like in 5 minutes. Like this will absolutely be used for evil at some point.
Well, yeah.
Because everything does, though. Like, I mean, nuclear power, right? I'm pretty sure Albert Einstein wasn't like, oh, man, check out this awesome algorithm. Let's go blow up Hiroshima. Or Hiroshima or whatever, Nagasaki. I'm pretty sure he was like more like, let's build a power plant, not blow shit up. There's always going to be bad uses. Like, for instance, somebody tried to mention during, I made this argument during a stream that everything can be used for evil. And they said, what about a pacemaker? And I'm like, dude, there was literally a dude that used a magnetron from a microwave to kill somebody with a pacemaker. Literally premeditated murder. They've compromised a Faraday cage in somebody's microwave oven so that when they went to cook something, it would short out their pacemaker and kill them.
I remember early on too, they had the ones where it would report back and like could adjust.
I remember that.
Right.
Things for like arrhythmias and stuff. And somebody had remotely like overrode the signal and stopped the dude's heart.
Well, DEF CON has a whole medical section now because all of this stuff has been developed without any security concerns.
Yeah. Or like insulin pumps. There's have you guys heard about the open pump, open insulin or whatever it's called? So there's a project that basically takes these old insulin pumps that were hacked from like 2008. And they're actually shouldn't even be in use. They're all expired. Every single one of them is medically expired. So the people are buying these on eBay and using them at their own peril. And they install this software. And what it is it basically monitors. You put a patch on your arm that's wireless transmitter. It monitors your glucose level, and it in real time communicates through your phone. So it's not even directly to the pump. It communicates to your phone, and then your phone connects and hacks the device and basically changes the glucose and stuff. And they showed how it can take somebody who has these crazy glucose levels and make them perfectly smooth, like a real human pancreas. And people are like, this has saved our lives. It's amazing. But it's like, what happens if the phone locks up? What happens if the app crashes while you're sleeping? I mean, there are real scary things. But think about it. This thing was hacked over what your phone can talk to it because they hacked the API. What happens when you're walking through a subway and some freaking crazy hacker broadcasts a signal to basically pump the insulin level up to 100% on every one of the pumps and everybody just passes out and hits the deck? I mean, that's scary stuff that could happen.
I mean, this once again is Hollywood's fault because Hollywood has had people have things in their brains that the evil governments can control for ages, right? I have the same issue with biotech, with biohackers, biohacking, bioengineering. unfortunately, Hollywood has created, like, everyone starts with we've got to feed the world. Oh my God, giant monster. Like, it's like, we've taken that ridiculous leap. And I think we're in a weird way, we're like overly paranoid and not paranoid enough with this stuff.
I think that's a good point, because it's like we're looking at the wrong things to be scared of.
Yeah.
It's like genetically modified foodstuffs, right?
Yeah.
Okay, first off, a lot of people tend to have a very narrow definition of what that means. We've been doing selective breeding for thousands of years. That's a form of genetic manipulation.
I like a bigger potato.
Yeah.
And I understand where people start freaking out when there's news stories of like, oh, we used fish DNA in these tomatoes to keep them from being susceptible to mold.
Yeah, and whatever. Glow in the dark, and sometimes sure, they have fish lips on them.
That's weird, sure. But like, and there's like the big question mark of like, well, how does that affect the human body if you're eating it? Well, it's not going to mess with your DNA. That's not how foodstuffs work, for one. But like, and there's all kinds of other things. 5G, like, and people freaking out about.
Oh my gosh,
that was a 4chan joke.
Coronavirus.
Well, not just that, but just like, what is that going to do to your body and being bathed in these microwaves or whatever? It's like, you guys, that's like,
you can thank 4chan for that. 4chan has now got, let's see, hold on, QAnon. They got Flat Earth and 5G COVID. All within like 1.5 years, they've proliferated all these three things to like over millions of followers. And it started as a joke on 4chan.
But we're like in this perfect storm for misinformation now. We're in this. We're like, mankind is at this, or humankind is at this point where we're just like, you just put a tiny little drop in the water and it just goes, and you've got like the conspiracy theories just leap out at you. It's amazing. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. Well, the insulin pump thing I was talking about with hacking too, I just want to make sure that I don't fearmonger too much on that, because the good outweighs the bad. Because think about it. You can go outside, your neighbor can literally just mow you down with his car, right? You're checking your mail, your neighbor can just drive the car right through you. You can get shot, you can get stabbed. Like, there's a million ways that somebody could kill you if they wanted to. If they're going through all the trouble of like trying to hack an insulin pump, like... Was that?
I've seen you doing donuts outside your house.
I actually got busted by the cops last time.
I know.
And I think that's important to illustrate too, is like, despite, and this is going to go bigger picture, but like, despite the chaos of the world right now, it's still the best time ever to be a human being. Like, oh my God. It's not the Black Plague. Okay.
Dude, Amazon brings all my food and all my electronics to my house, and I don't ever have to leave my house. And I literally have a house with like heat and a toilet and a big ass TV.
Even for all the chaos of things and the way that, like, there is a lot of bad, but we're making huge strides in making it better in every aspect of humanity.
I still believe that technology can save us. I mean, I know
absolutely.
I think as much as we can screw it up, I think I
think it already has, really.
Yeah, like, it's been great. Yeah. I think and it's helped. Technology in every aspect. We're living longer. We're living better lives. We're living happier lives, and there has come with a sort of a bad aspect. Is there has been a bigger divide in the haves and have-nots in a big way. But the other side of that is we're now more able to illustrate that and show everyone that this divide exists. That, like, heck, the COVID stuff. Kids are going back to school. It's showing that, one, we were never prepared for everyone being at home and distance learning and all this stuff, but it's starting to show that the infrastructure of the country in rural areas is not there. There's millions of people who have been ignored that don't have internet connectivity, that don't have
laptops, that don't have computers.
Yeah, and their only exposure to the first world in a big way has been through public education and that sort of a thing, and buses even, like and so yes, we've left a lot of people behind, but it's a lot easier to show that we've left these people behind, and it's a lot easier to get them to catch up if people have a mind to do so.
Yeah, I mean, I hope we can use the technology to fix some of the stuff. I mean, but yeah, it's shocking to me how how apparent the haves and the have-nots have happened, even just within this COVID stuff. Yeah. I mean, we have whole indigenous populations here who don't have internet access, like who have such shitty internet access that and you're like, And I'm like, well, what about schooling and stuff? I'm like, well, going online's great. And then you go like, except there are whole communities that aren't being served for this stuff.
I love one of the arguments is like, unemployment, right? Oh, well, just go get a job. Just find a job. Well, okay. I can't tell you how many times when I was working at a Starbucks, we would have kids come in, like teenagers, seniors in high school or whatever, come in with their resume and whatnot and say, hey, I'd like to get an application. And it's like, I'm sorry, kiddo. All of that's online now.
Yeah.
Nobody accepts paper applications.
Yeah, go to the library. What's that?
And then, go to the library. Well, the closest library to me is 40 miles away, as an example.
Yeah.
It's like, and it just comes back to the idea that too many old guys run things who don't understand the state of the world anymore. Like how many that's gonna go down a whole different kind of path. But it's like as fast as technology improves things, there's so many people, especially in positions of importance and who make decisions, that don't get it. That still think rock and roll is the devil, Yeah.
No, well, and also this weird sort of insular thing that's happened where you go like, I was sort of talking about the Rodney King thing before, but like 30 years ago, we saw footage of police misbehaving in a most horrible way.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh my God, look what's happened. This is terrible. This has got to change. There were freaking riots. And then I was somehow able, even though I'm on the internet every day, like 12 to 30 hours a day on the internet, I was able to ignore that for 30 years until George Floyd. That's insane that I feel like I'm so in touch, and yet at the same time, I'm so completely out of touch.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're pretty much controlled by, media. I don't want to be like the tinfoil hat guy, but it's like we are. The people that control the platforms that we use for free every day, they're the ones that decide what we see.
Well, the algorithms want us to be happy, or the algorithms want us to be outraged.
They want you to be pissed, man, because pissed gets a lot more engagement than happy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Fear and anger.
When you're mad at something, you're like, fuck you, I'll kill you. You're happy with some kittens. You're like, next video, more kittens. Next video, more kittens. And you're having a good old time. But the second somebody pisses you off, you're just like, keyboard warrior.
And that was TikTok with my kid. My son was like fixated on a number of different things that had come up. There was whatever. I think it started off as a joke where it was where they basically kill all men. It was basically like, oh my God, it's my anniversary. I come home. He's bought a new chainsaw. Kill all men was the joke.
Wow.
And then for some reason, whether it was on purpose or whether it was done out of misunderstanding, it somehow got equated with a feminist movement. And then it was like kill all men became like a serious call for basically radical feminism.
Context matters.
Well, exactly. And my son was having arguments with friends of his about kill all men being he was like, you can't say that. Like you can't say kill anybody. Like it doesn't make any sense. And they're like, well, then you're sexist. And he's like, what? How am I sexist? Because he's like, you don't think men are bad? He's like, well, but I don't want them all dead. He's 12 years old. He's having this conversation on TikTok.
And good for him. And I get a sense of pride that he's not running away from his opinion.
Yeah.
And
I was telling him to. Well, I was like, get out of there, man. You are never going to win this.
Social media is forcing kids to grow up way too fast, though. Way too fast.
Honestly, I think it's. I've mentioned this with talking with Jerry before. Is at some point you have to take a stand. At some point, for whatever your opinion is, whatever your thing is, at some point you have to say, no, I believe this. I don't agree with you, and accept that you are probably not going to change their mind, and that's okay. That's totally okay. So many of these, I've mentioned this with Jerry before. So many arguments grow out of this desire to change or pull someone onto your platform or your path. And
why can't you just discuss stuff?
Yeah, people resist. They don't want to be pulled. They don't want to be pushed or pulled or changed like that way. And why can't we just talk about it? Like, hey, I disagree. But and that's okay.
I've had my mind changed on many things that I never thought in the beginning I would have my mind changed on.
Sure, absolutely.
But that's not the norm. That's not like the status quo. Usually you expect that two people are just going to yell at the top of their lungs and then they're just going to part ways pissed off. And that's what happens more often than not on social media. And it feeds that fire. I was going to say,
social media is I think a bad place for that, simply because I worry that the algorithms reward that behavior. They don't want people to get along. They want people to fight, because the longer they fight, the more stuff they're using.
It's a new frontier, though. Advertisers are starting to hold companies accountable, and that's where the money is. You hit them in the wallet, they start changing
I feel it's a little bit more neutral than that. The algorithm wants.
I disagree. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I think
I'm totally kidding.
The algorithm or any of these platforms, their goal is to keep you on their platform as long as possible.
There's a word for it. I can't even remember what it is. It's like not engagement, but it's like the number of hours that you are engaged on that platform and logged in and looking at it. That they use that as a metric to determine their success.
Yeah, it's unfortunate though that as a symptom or a reaction to that is that usually negative content tends to be the most engaging. People or divisive content or the sort of things. Hell, it could be just
reactionary.
Yeah, that's good. It's as simple as AMD versus Intel. The versus is what gets people to engage.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, their tribalism tends to come out as an attack. It's not a simple discussion of like, oh, this is why I think Intel is better, and they're like, oh, that's interesting. This is why I think AMD is better. It's I think AMD is the best, and Intel blows big dicks, and like you're stupid if you don't agree with me.
Right.
Well, I mean, you are.
It's
and here's a TikTok video to prove it.
Exactly. Yeah. I got more followers than you, so I'm smarter. I get that all the time.
I just wish it didn't come down to that. It's like it isn't a character assassination because I think that chocolate milk is better than strawberry milk, which actually I prefer the other way. But like it isn't.
I never see strawberry milk anymore.
That's a shame. It's the best. I
used to love it. No, I used to the Nestle. You know,
it's when I have like a really stressful day. I'm like, I need a strawberry milk or strawberry milkshake. It helps me to like everything's gonna be okay.
Dude, if I had access to that, I'd need a train to get me out of my house.
It's so funny though, because it's just like I feel like, people go on about. I myself go on about. I am not a fan of Facebook. I'm on Facebook because I feel like for my business I have to be. It's where most. Yeah. And strangely, most of my Stargate people are on Facebook. I think because they're generationally that was their internet.
I feel like we're all held hostage by Facebook. Like nobody really wants to be there, but everybody's there, so we don't really have a choice.
But at the same time, if you think about it, Facebook was. For all of it, the negative stuff, there was also, there was the Arab Spring, there was like women's rights marches, there was Black Lives Matter, there's a lot of these movements that
Free the nipple, that was a good one. There you go.
There's definitely.
There's a story behind why I mentioned that, and it's not what you're thinking.
Oh, really? Okay.
My cousin literally led the movement in Washington, and every day on my feed, my own cousin's like showing up with these pictures in protest. And I won't go beyond that. But I'm like, come on, cousin, please. Please, for the love of God. Every morning I wake up, I'm scrolling through my Facebook feed. And I'm like, oh, God, here we go again.
Into your retina.
And it's like, hey, I'm all for it. I love the movement. But I'm like, come on, cuz, can I at least, and I didn't want to block because it was somebody I talked to a lot on Facebook. So it's like my option is either block you so that it doesn't show up my feed and lose communication, or stay communicating to you and just be like, scroll really fast.
Right, exactly. And still have it like...
Yeah, and I still see it. And I'm like, damn it.
The flash of it automatically like burns into your brain. But it's funny. I feel like we've always, I don't want to like hold back innovation, but I feel like we've always rewarded the sort of the verging on psychopaths who are willing to push a company to never say no, to make cagey deals, to push ahead no matter what the odds. That's always been our concept of success. And I feel like what I'm loving seeing now is that is that maybe we can start seeing success as something that's not just financially driven. That all of a sudden you go, what's the success of this company? The success is in the lives changed, in the jobs, in the the goodwill, the social good, all that kind of stuff. I think it's a neat way of valuing things.
Yeah, and I think we're on an edge of that where we can have success in the traditional sense while still having like a positive impact on the environment, on society, on humanity as a whole. I think I just wonder if it's not too late.
Well, yeah, I have a feeling. My sense is that the government's going to move in on a lot of these big companies now. Like they have got both Republicans and Democrats seem to have their sights on these companies. I have a feeling, but then look at, maybe Microsoft isn't such a good example, and maybe Barnacules, you could probably talk about this more than I could. But I got the sense that while the anti-competitive stuff that they got into originally was sort of frowned upon by a lot of the more sort of right-wing side of stuff, I feel like they've succeeded and blossomed in spite of that, right?
Sure. Yeah.
I think there is evidence to show that that's sort of like breaking up of look at what Bell, right? Back in the day, the phone companies, breaking up the phone companies, that was good overall. Like when I feel like when companies start buying up other companies just to keep them from competing, or to, like, Google is known for this. They'll buy up a cool innovative company and then shut them down. Yep. And then close them up, or do nothing with the technology that they were developing.
Well,
I think that sort
Twitter
of
and Vine.
Yeah,
Twitter's got to be just kicking themselves. Right?
Yeah,
it's literally TikTok.
Yeah,
literally. Yeah,
but it's because they do it out of fear rather than like, hey, that's neat. Let's buy them so that they can grow within this cool space that we have. Give them the funding that they need. They do it because it's scary and it's competing with them.
And Chris just bought us a drink.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Thanks, Mike.
Hey, Mike and Chris. Thank you for that $10. Drink for each of you. He said, great show, guys. Best in the UK cross.
That's real money.
Oh, that's real money.
That's British sterling right there. That's good stuff.
Hey, thank you, Dingo, on my 40 also for your $5.
Those funky euros.
That's like a nice pint of warm beer right there.
Yeah, this is the Queen's on goodness money.
Bravo, Biker.
Thank you, Lynn Forrest, also, and Chicken Dance. You guys are awesome. Thank you, everybody, for the super chats. We appreciate that.
I don't want your colonialist dollars, your colonialist funds. Get out of here, you imperialist.
And plus, we don't accept Canadian money because it actually costs us money to throw away. So please.
It's recyclable.
You guys are short on toilet paper. I thought you were short on toilet paper.
Why does everybody's money look better than ours? Like, seriously, our money still looks like it's literally printed on recycled jeans.
Because we're controlled by a bunch of old white guys.
Yeah.
Do we need money? Do we need cash anymore?
No.
No.
Oh,
Lord Zero, my man. Thank you for that $10 for my guys.
Freedom units. Thank you very much. I'm going to buy a pizza and a beer.
Woohoo. But you got to buy a warm British beer, though. That's the key.
Oh, and that pass.
I like my. I got to say. The hardest thing to give up when I stopped drinking, the hardest thing to give up was those pints of delicious British British ales.
I like my beer like I like my colonoscopies cold.
I like a crispy Hefeweizen. Cool.
Oh yeah.
That's where it's at.
I'm not saying it has to be exclusively warm, but I'm just saying, Yeah.
But I honest to goodness, I do think that is a major problem with or a big source of a lot of American problems, at least, is the fact that out of touch old white guys.
What's that great song? What is it? When are straight white rich guys gonna? What if straight white rich guys didn't rule the world anymore? Right. It's like some Kesha song or something, but I just find it so amusing that
I think the best illustration of that is just recently when they had those talks with the big tech people, and one guy was asking a question, I think, about Twitter to Zuckerberg, and it's like, or like, how do you guys make money? How does Facebook
make money?
And it's sir, we sell ads. Like, yeah, where have you been?
Like, do your freaking homework.
I love it when they were calling Facebook the internet. Did you see that? Like, they kept referring to Facebook as the internet. So this is how the internet. No, we're talking about Facebook. That's not the internet. We're not talking about the internet. We're talking about Facebook. Wait, isn't Facebook the internet? For some
parts of the population, for some parts of the population, Facebook is the internet.
Dude, I mean, like, that's their only way. Facebook caused a war. Did you hear about that?
What was that?
Facebook caused an actual war in a country.
It was one of the smaller African nations.
Very
I think
small
it was.
African nation, and they literally just had gotten cell phones, like literally like 10 generation old cell phones, and the only app that came on the phones with the data plan that they had in the area, and it was like really old technology, like 2G. All they had was a Facebook app because that was what was deployed on these phones. So they thought Facebook was the internet, and they'd open up Facebook and there was all these like rival factions in the country that were like, oh, we're invading you. We're doing this. We're attacking you. And everybody started freaking out. And it literally started like an actual war where people were dying, and Facebook had to step in and be like, whoa, take all this crap down, shut it down, release statements saying, no, this is not happening. This is not real news. You're being manipulated. And it was like, wow, dude, a social media platform caused a physical war.
Yeah.
And, which is why education is really important. Education is so important.
But I feel obligated to talk about some of the positive things now. Now that we've kind of talked about the evil of social media. The one thing I saw that I wanted to talk about with TikTok earlier is people are demonizing TikTok obviously right now because it's owned by ByteDance, which is owned by the Chinese government. Or at least is in league with the Chinese government, but let's be fair. Like, everybody sells data to everybody. Facebook sells data to China. Twitter sells data to China.
Yeah, you're kidding. Yeah, China's probably buying all the Facebook data anyway.
Right. So as long as the app meets the TOS of the marketplace, I really don't care. I accept the risk when I'm using it. But the thing about TikTok that I noticed that was kind of cool, and I just recently started using it mainly because people told me not to. And when you tell me not to do something, I'm going to go do it because, I'm a rebel. So I get on the platform. I put a video up. It got 650,000 views in 2 days. Nice. Over 500,000 views in 2 days, posting a video, 1 minute of a much longer video on YouTube that only got half that viewership in like 6 months. So I'm like,
What do you think it was? What was the? I mean, other than your sparkling charm and wit, what do you think was the?
There's a huge fat fetish over there, bro. No, I'm just kidding. No. I think what it really was, is I took the best parts of the YouTube video, like the ADHD parts of the YouTube video, and I put that into the TikTok so that when you scroll down and it pops in front of you, you're like, what the hell is going on? Like it captures you, and then you want to click on it and share it because you're like, wow, that was crazy what just happened. I can't believe what I just saw. It was the RTX voice thing that people like freak out about, right? So I put it up there and it went super hyper viral, but I started making friends, and friends mean, just click follow. I don't know who any of these people are, but you're my friend now. That's the new social landscape. But anyways, I found a whole subgenre of people on TikTok that actually I never thought would exist. And this is the homeless. There is a whole movement of homeless people on TikTok that literally make their entire livings. They don't want a house. They don't want it. They literally are just nomads that just go live and they do
nomads.
Exactly. They do TikTok videos. They have sponsors. They have like Cash App, and people like, hey, if you want to send me some money to feed my dogs, sitting on the street corner or whatever, and they're telling you their stories about like their hardships in their life and where they're going that night and where they're staying. And it's like they're like, we don't want to be saved. Like in the comments, it's like, oh, we need to get you into housing and stuff. It's like, no, you don't understand. I love owning my life. I love being able to do what I do and share my story. That's what I do. And these people are like enormously popular on the platform. This is a genre I haven't seen on other platforms. I haven't seen this on YouTube. I've seen people on YouTube that are nomadic, but not like this. Not people that are straight up. I'm a homeless dude.
On giant catamarans.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They all look like supermodels. Yeah.
But it's cool because it's like, here's this platform where they don't need a computer to produce videos. They can just add a little music and talk to the camera. It's like making an Instagram video, but the tools are a lot more intuitive, right? It's easy.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So they spend 1 minute a day. That's the longest video you can make on TikTok. You can even make 15 seconds to 1 minute a day. Is arguably they spend a little bit more time than that if they're recording multiple clips. But let's just say a minute of published content out of their day, and they post that, and it gets like 100,000 views, 1 million views, and then people are like, oh, I just Cash Apped you $1, I just Cash Apped you $20. And if those people are telling the truth in the comments, they're making like $1,000 a day, and they still are like, screw staying in a house. I like what I do. I'm just going to travel around the world, riding my rickety ass busted bike with my 5 dogs, and all this money I'm just going to give to other people and just, along the way help out other homeless people and stuff. They're not all like that, but I'm just saying it's interesting that we live in a time where technology literally has empowered homeless people to make a living completely independent of everybody else simply by sharing their story and being visible.
Yep. We were in California. When we last visited California, we were in Santa Monica, and because we used to live down there, so we used to go back whenever we could. And what I couldn't get over was, first off, how many homeless people there were. The tent city thing is just taken off. But how many people were like kitted up. Like we're like on the street with like a little cardboard box that surrounds their iPhone that's watching streaming video because they've got free Wi-Fi in Santa Monica, or so they're picking up public networks, or they're picking up where they've got a cellular. That's it. But just the idea that you are, that in a climate that allows for that, you can survive in that situation. I mean, I wouldn't want to, and I can't imagine.
You wouldn't, but
there's people that want that.
It comes back around to the idea of like setting your expectation for yourself. Like I don't want a house. I don't want kids. I'm okay. And there's totally a way to live that way without having like roots, I guess. Like you can have a gym membership to take a shower and stuff, or YMCA or whatever. And or I'm sure there's publicly available spots like that, sort of a thing where you don't have to pay any sort of membership or whatever.
It's called being an actor in LA. But basically that's what we like. People did. I knew a lot of people
fake it till you make it.
Cars.
But I think it's really neat that there exists a community like that, because it comes around to like some of the bits that we've talked about like it doesn't all have to be perfect, like the content and things. Like you can just tell your story the way that it is. It can be raw and real and not smooth and flat and fleshed out and perfect. And people want to hear those stories and will support you for creating those stories. And it's super cool. I love the idea of twisting the norm and being unapologetic about it. A buddy of mine is going down a similar path. He's like kitting out a van. Like they bought like a big van, and he's making.
I watch those channels all the time. I love it.
I love it. Yeah, the van conversion stuff. And Father Ballard wants to do that.
Oh, right on.
So cool. From Twit TV. Neat. He's I think it's for his dad or something, but they want to kit out like totally high tech a van and then just like tool around. Yeah.
And I think that's super cool because especially like kind of in my generation, the folk who are maybe, in their 30s now, or maybe, there's a gap.
You mean the youngsters?
Yeah, but who are sort of disillusioned with what used to be the American dream. Like, man, why do I want to be tied down to one house for 30 years? Yeah. I don't like it. Maybe what happens when I don't like it here? I may not be able to sell my house. And there's like, I feel like there's this slight shift too towards like the co-op or commune sort of like lifestyle, and more people sharing spaces, that sort of thing. I don't know, just all of that sort of just different from how this is the way we've always done it. And it's like, well, why? Like, look at where that's gotten us in a lot of ways.
It's one of the things that comes up a lot with the Tech Bandits kids as well, is that the schools are focusing on them getting jobs. And I'm saying, hey, you're not going to have jobs. You're going to have projects. You're going to go from project to project. Yeah. They may or may not be in the same fields that you're in. I'm not sure that careers are going to be the same way that we've designed our educational system for.
Not at all.
I agree.
That's gone. Yeah.
Yeah. It'll be. I think that's a good way of looking at it.
I think we're going to go with home production. Like, what do they call it? Micro production or micro factories? Yeah. For like people designing and creating stuff, because all the tools are available to you at home. Marketing, media, video creation. Like you see Corridor Crew, how they take a small amount of people and go create like these blockbuster freaking level things. I think we're going to literally see the large entities not completely die, but they're going to become the minority. Like you're gonna go onto a platform, you're gonna watch movies, and I think YouTube is eventually going to merge with mainstream media to the point that you're going to like go turn on HBO now, and like half the series that are on there are going to be basically started as YouTube videos and made leap, or the other way, coming from a series and going to YouTube.
I definitely. Oh, go ahead.
I mean, the dream was always that you would like, I think one of the things that my industry struggles with is they think people are on YouTube in the hopes of getting a television series. And I'm saying to them, no, That's absolutely wrong. It's the other way around entirely.
Yep.
If I could get out and start all over again as a YouTuber now or as a Twitch streamer now, I would do that in a second.
I think if one of these bigger networks really wanted to crush it and disrupt some things, they would come out with a platform that allows for user-generated content. YouTube's the only big. It's really
the mainstream one, yeah.
Because where else are you going to put videos that I've created?
Yeah, library, Vimeo, but nobody knows about those. That's the thing is, there's such a minority.
If HBO came out and said, you know what, here's a video sharing platform, we're not even going to get our fingers into what kind of content, so long as it's, within a certain. There's always a TOS. You can't have snuff films and stuff. But if they basically just copy pasted YouTube's thing, it'd be awesome. Floatplane doesn't count because you pay Floatplane to put your content there. That's
oh right.
There's my understanding. I could be wrong. I believe though that the content creators pay Floatplane to be on. And you have to, and as a consumer, you have to pay Floatplane. Correct me if I'm wrong, Chad. But I think it's both.
No, I think you do. I think
they get your comment and going on Floatplane,
which is kind of neat. I mean, that's an interesting. In a way, if you could just pay for a platform to have that would also because it's the aggregate. It's all those different people designing on the advantage of YouTube is the number of successful YouTubers, right? People know to go to YouTube because of all the successful. One of the things I was playing with over my COVID holiday was the idea of I was seeing a lot of monologues and stuff being put out on social media, and my joke was it was like trying to watch a play in a dance club. There's too many distractions. It's not the right medium for that stuff, for someone to sit back and watch someone's performance. And I used to love monologues. Before we had video in auditions and stuff, you used to have to go in and you'd have a prepared piece and you would just do it. If you were coming in for comedy, you'd do a comedy piece. If you were doing a drama, you'd come in and do a drama piece. So what I was working on doing was setting up a website where people it would just be monologues. And the other thing I really liked about it was I thought this is a possibility for, again, underserved communities. You know freaking hard it is to find Indigenous actors in Canada to do movies. I have one of my best friends is a producer here. She's an Indigenous woman who's done a number of big productions, including some of the Star Treks and stuff. But then her own projects are all basically, her passion pieces, her Indigenous based stories and such. She had to spend 5 times as much as most people to try to cast her project with true Indigenous actors. And eventually she was on Facebook doing ads to try to find people and cast it that way. And so I said, well, this is nuts. There should be a place where people can just go and just try different monologues and stuff. So I set up a thing called Soliloquy.io. I can't even say it. It's the most terrible name.
Soliloquy.
Yeah, don't like Barnacules. That was the hardest thing to get people hey, go to Barnacules. How the hell do you spell that?
It was the most terrible name for
Simple names, man.
But the idea was, and I'll have to bug you about this at some point, Barnacules.
Oh, I love it when you bug me, David.
Because the coding side of it is, I'm amazed at how incredibly difficult it's been to try to figure it out. I put it on hold right now because I'm like, I don't have time. I got too many kids to deal with. I got too many tech bandits to deal with. But again, the idea of we need more platforms like this. Yeah. I think we can now we've got these mass, we've got, as you say, we've got the YouTubes, we've got the Vimeos to some extent. We've got Twitch. Now I think we could almost start targeting more. Okay, so my thought was okay, let's just do monologues. Yep. Website just for monologues. That's it. Nothing else. And then maybe you could say, okay, these are just technical. And maybe these are just geek out chats.
Yeah.
Maybe these are just I think we could start narrowing down our fields now.
Yeah, I agree. The niche thing is super important.
We're back to the tail. We're back to that tail again.
It really
don't
is.
aim for this. Aim for that little bit down the end there. That's your market.
One of the things that with Twitch that I find so hard is finding content that I like, that I want to watch, or a personality that I want to because it's all about the person, really. I personally am not into
unless you want to see the fitness streamers. Those are really easy to find.
Unless what was that?
The fitness streamers, they're really easy to find. You just go to page 1 on Twitch, and it's a bunch of like half naked ladies doing jumping jacks, and like one dude who's like ripped like Dolph Lundgren in his prime.
And soon there'll be me and Barnacules too.
Yeah,
I should do that. I should do a fitness stream and get on the front page because I have enough following that I can get on. I can get on the front page for my category. I should just get on there one day and just be doing jumping jacks with my shirt off, because Twitch says I'm allowed to. As long as I'm doing fitness, I'm allowed to have my shirt off and be in a pair of shorts.
There you go.
Via the TOS. So I should just do that, and just on the front page, all these beautiful people, and then I'm just like sitting here like Grimace, just going to town.
And periodically go to slow-mo.
Yeah, just a little, like a lava.
Yeah,
like a lava.
There you go. But there's your niche right there.
It's like Homer Simpson from Simpsons. Remember they slap him and they hit the timer and it just never stops.
Yeah.
The jiggle test. Oh my God. You can actually use existing platforms, though, to build your own platforms, too. Like Library, for instance, is a cryptocurrency-based or blockchain-based video distribution network. I'll send you a link to it.
Cool.
That basically is everybody is serving the content. It's decentralized. So there's nothing to shut down. There's nothing to attack. And you can embed it in web pages and stuff like that. YouTube, same thing. You can do an embed on YouTube. You can make something unlisted, make it embeddable, and then you can literally use YouTube's resources to store and stream all your stuff to the masses, but then you control the library and the distribution of it.
So maybe that's what I should be doing.
Yeah, I would use something else, because building an infrastructure to store and multicast video is so expensive. That's why you don't see a lot of people do it.
I was using WordPress, and there's a great deal on WordPress.com, has a whole, what's it called? Rocket something or another. Was it Rocket Fuel? I don't know. They have like a video server thing.
Right.
That's very, very cheap as long as you're using their service. But I'm finding WordPress incredibly hard to sort of like force to do what we want to do, right? So I'll have to bug some bigger brains on that. I'm afraid I'm just not up to. There's too many things to get up to speed on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I definitely. I think the niche thing for sure though is because people want to. They want to gather around other people who like stickers or whatever, I think that's why Facebook groups are as popular as they are, because it's topical. It's like, I just want to be around people who only do, black and white pencil art or, and
I think there's something for that now, especially now if we're worried that they're going to get broken up, if we're worried that this stuff's going to start, that people are worrying about all this stuff being sort of in one place, it almost feels like it's a good time to be finding those little niches.
Just remember, anything you do, somebody, once they realize you're successful at it, everybody else will dogpile the same thing. So you always have to stay one step ahead of the curve, but it's not that hard, because people will just follow what's big instead of taking a gamble on doing the thing that might become big. Yeah. So that's like me, like on this library platform, it's still not really well known, but it's way bigger than when it first launched. Like their cryptocurrency, they gave me like 35,000 or something of their cryptocurrency coins, which equated to like $1. Like back when I first started on the platform, and now it's like worth like I think like $1,000 or $1,500 $3. So it's been going up. I love
that idea though. I mean that's a great. Okay, I've definitely got to check that out, because I do worry about. I mean, discoverability is always a big problem, and that's what you do get from these big the Facebooks and the YouTubes of the world, and Twitch for that matter, somewhat. But most of my audience is mostly. I mean, I have a pretty consistent core of people who I'm working with, and I sort of gather them as I go along. I pick up more people with different as I get interested in more different areas. I tend to sort of pick up more people as I go along. But what's so funny is I've never really thought of it as an audience. I've always thought of it more like as a way into various different techs and things. You know what I mean? Like it's more areas of curiosity for more than it is for an audience. But I guess I should probably start rethinking it as an actual sort of a business thing.
Yeah.
That's my problem, is I never think about the business aspects of anything I do. I just do them. And then
I know.
It's weird. Like that, I don't know how I've managed to survive as long as I have, like having no business hat, like just kind of just doing stuff.
I do. It's called Jane. Jane is the reason why. Yeah.
You got to surround yourself with people to fill in those blanks.
Yeah. That is true. That is true. Yeah. It's the people around you that really enable what you can do.
Sure, like Adam, right? He collects nerds in a way and surrounds himself with experts that aren't his thing,
Yeah.
Who's this?
He goes by Kevlar Condom on the internet. Yeah. He's basically our adopted family, super multi-millionaire venture capitalist dude with a heart of gold. He just loves going around. He's one of those people where it's like he doesn't play in a sandbox. He plays in every sandbox. Like he literally wants to be friends with like the homeless dude on the block that can like, you know, tell him like how to do carpentry. And he'll have a friend that's like a billionaire that, you know, because he wants to know about something, instead of him trying to just know everything, he'll defer to people that are experts and then learn from them and amass that knowledge. And
it's that Socratic, almost that Socratic approach, isn't it? It's like, well, what do I know? I'm just going to ask you questions until I prove that you're completely wrong. It's like you gather up so much information doing that by not.
Yeah. It's awesome.
And he always like it's like a chain thing. Like he'll get to know somebody, and then he'll get to know somebody through that person. Like when he got to know me, then he got to know all my friends, and he just, you know, the network just infinitely expands. But he's one of those people where it's like his goal is he already has everything he could ever want. Like his financially, his life is set. So his mission is to form relationships and to like even help people. Like he'll literally just straight up like go buy somebody just a computer because they need a computer. Like, you know, we went to a LAN party and some dude's computer broke, and he's like, just here, let's go to Best Buy right now. Just grab all the stuff. Here's my credit card. Okay, go back there. Now you got a computer. Let's play.
One of our sponsors just did that on a stream. So DStat, cool. who's like a Patreon sponsor for us, was this one of our bandits was talking about how she wasn't sure whether she should get a computer because she wasn't sure if she should ask her parents for the money because it was like she wasn't sure whether she was going to use it enough. And so he just like texts me and goes, $1,500. Go set her up with a computer.
That's so cool.
I'm like, I don't know whether I should buy a computer either if I'm going to waste money or not. Yeah. How do I get in on this?
And our friend Adam too, he also like the biggest thing that I love is that he invests in people. Like his thing, he's not like a venture capitalist. Like he'll do the deals where it's like, okay, go buy like, you know, something really, really expensive, flip it for a profit or whatever. He'll do that. But he also does the thing where it's like, I'm just going to enable somebody to go like create a business or live their dream or do something. I'm going to do something to enable them to be, you know, to make, like, for instance, our t-shirt manufacturer that makes all my t-shirts, which I'm not wearing today because I'm wearing an Under Armour shirt. But anyways, I know. But all my merch and stuff, it's like my friends, he basically like got them set up and got them the equipment they needed to create a business printing, which isn't cheap. Like, you know, that's a very expensive thing. And he's basically like, you know, if you pay me back, you pay me back. If you don't, you don't, whatever, you know, just it's an investment in you guys more than it's an investment in me getting anything back. And it's that perception that he has on things. It's like he believes in people. He wants to empower people, and he loves that feeling of taking somebody and being like, you know what, I'm going to help you realize that. And he knows that, you know, obviously, you know, you can only do so much. But I think my favorite saying of his that he'll say is he said, money is useless if it isn't moving. Like don't just let money just sit around to be stagnant. It's got to be doing something. It's like it's better off having the money in somebody's hands who's going to go build a business and take a risk and go do something and potentially build something huge. And if it's lost, it's lost. Money. Yeah, but something is happening. Like don't let the money just sit there and stagnate. And I always respected that mentality. And he's never steered me wrong on anything. That's the other thing is he's an incredibly intelligent guy that's very savvy of the industry in many industries, and everything I've hit him up on for like, you know, anywhere from like investments to just like, you know, what should I be doing right now with this? Is this something? I mean, he'll talk to me for hours about it, like set me up to no benefit of his own. And it's rare to find people like that. It's really rare to find people that are just that freaking just, you know, generous and don't expect anything back in return.
It's also cool I think dude. It's like finding a geek who knows a geek. There's always somebody.
Exactly.
Like whenever I need to find out something, you just ask someone. Yeah. And there's always, if you put it out far enough, someone will know someone.
Yeah.
And I think that true geeks do want other people to succeed. They do want things to work. I mean, like I think in a way that's just an innate kind of a love of. I mean, I get geeky about businesses because I just enjoy how people, like I read so many books on business and discuss people's entrepreneurial business stuff all the time, just because I find it so fascinating. Just the whole process of building a company. Once they're successful, I find it boring. But the whole process.
I do the same thing. What the hell's wrong with us?
I know.
I've found myself in that position now because like I want to do that. I want to build my own little piece of the pie, and so yeah, I'm like knee deep in looking at how I'm super stoked to see. I know a few. I have I follow a few other handful of people in the similar space that I want to get into, and I love when they're successful. I love seeing them working with bigger people or like sort of showing off.
What sort of stuff are you interested in doing, or is that secret? Is that?
Oh no! I like talking about it. Actually, I want to be the best small form factor PC guy around.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I love
doing like small builds, like
this. Yeah, this. And
dude, I'd buy your shit all day long.
We're starting to see more of it in a mainstream because like more case manufacturers are making smaller like shoebox sized PCs and things like that. Intel with their NUCs, that's more.
Oh, the NUCs, yeah.
That's a little more like bare bones. You just plop in a few parts and it just works. But you could take that apart and put it into something else, and those sorts of things. I find the challenge of the small form factor to be very fun. A lot of people get into like these big, full towers, right? Like the thing behind Jerry. That's technically a mid tower, but
that's us just compensating. I do the same thing. The biggest console thing I can get just somehow makes me feel better.
There's a place for it, but like most people don't, because they're not putting in 6 hard drives that are 3.5 inches high. Right. They're not. And we're moving more and more toward like M.2 and SSDs where it's this big.
Everything's shrinking.
So, and plus I think a lot of, especially the enthusiasts out there, hide their garbage wiring behind the motherboard tray and just show off the front with the.
My God, my cable management is so awful. I don't even bother.
And this is a big one. So people are always like, oh, airflow, right? Okay, but there's a larger volume of air that you're having to move in a full tower.
Right.
I really want to see about data on this. I imagine a small shoebox size PC will have a higher average temperature by a little bit because it's small, right? Mm-hmm. But you're able to move that volume of air quicker, and recycle that out faster. At a lower RPM, I would think, because it's a lower cubic. You don't need to move it as fast because it doesn't have as far to go. It's not as much air. But that's one of those things people are always like, oh, airflow. Linus did a video where he's literally stuffed a case full of like wires and stuffed animals and stuff, and it hardly made any difference to the temperature. Heck, at Puget.
Yeah.
We had a support call a couple years ago. They called up, hey, something funny going on with my computer, blah blah blah. They're like, okay, open it up and take a look at this and this. Turns out they had never removed the expansion foam from their computer, and their issue wasn't related to that at all. But for like 5 years, they had this computer full of expansion foam, and it worked just fine. No, so your airflow argument is this close to being poop. I don't you.
Well, it depends on how close you run. You ride to the sun though. Like, I mean, like servers that are pumping out, 1,500 watts of heat. You do have to be able to evacuate the heat as fast as it's forming. But like the average desktop computer that isn't overclocked isn't going to be dissipating heat through the heatsink, fast enough that you need a leaf blower going through it. As long as you can get the air flowing through there at any speed, you're probably going to be okay.
As long as the cables aren't melting.
Exactly. Right. And plus the CPU is going to be like, what does the CPU run at? Like what, 90C top? Like that's like flat out like on fire. Like 90C. And then once you transmit that over the, a giant heatsink, like these huge Noctua jobbers, it's like you could literally just not even have a fan on the heatsink. Just the airflow coming in from a front fan to rear fan, as long as you're not overclocking it, should be enough to keep it from thermally throttling. But because the ambient air is so much lower, right? It's 90C, but the air in the room might only be what? Like, 15C, 20C, 30C. I don't know what the hell C is. What is C? 0 is 32 Fahrenheit. So yeah, like 1C in my room because I keep it ice cold. Yeah, like,
you're 1 degree Celsius in here? Really?
No, I'm running 73 today, but I usually keep it 68 Fahrenheit in here. I don't know what that is in Celsius.
One of the things that Lord Chunky was talking about, my PC kid, I was sort of joking with him about, like, why can't we build the ultimate portable gaming PC? Like, how do we do that? And he was like, no, you can't do that. It's all wrong. It's not going to work. And
don't tell me I can't.
Actually, there are some really good examples of, it depends on how you want to accomplish it. I've seen some really cool examples of portable. So like obviously the off the cuff answer is a laptop, right? There are powerful workstation replacement laptops, but I've seen where people have modified Pelican cases. And they've put 27-inch monitors into the lid, and then the actual CPU is in the actual like PC part is actually built into the base of the case, and it's super rigid, it's super solid, and it's carry on. You put it in the overhead, you pull it, and all you do is plug it in. You got a PC cord, you plug it in, boom, and there you go. Right. So that's one way of doing it. If you want to just have a portable like computer, like just the case part, that's even easier. There's solutions too where you can have the whole PC like a NUC or something similar, where it'll be built into a retail monitor space, or just have it attached to the VESA mount on the back. There's a lot of there are it depends on just what your end goal is. And
I guess in my head I was sort of joking about the fact that like people are going out and buying these Xboxes and PS5s and stuff, and you're being locked into subscriptions and all this kind of crap. Yeah. Was the idea of just being able to have like, what if you could just have a box that people plug in the same way that they plug in their consoles, and you're running PC games on it?
Well, geez, Puget built me two very small. I mean, they're not a small form factor as you could get, but both of my HD PCs that I use are no bigger than half the size of a stereo receiver. And they both have Titan XP graphics cards. I mean, it's last generation, but still, it was like what, a $1,500 graphics card or something like that. It's got a massive power usage. Like it uses more power than everything else in the system combined, and it's like a flamethrower out the back of it. Like the heat coming out of it literally feels like a little space heater. But the flow isn't super high. I feel like
we should be using that heat somehow. Like I feel like, is there nothing we could be doing with that with that heat?
This is gonna sound really bad because this conference. But the other day I was literally talking to people about thermocouples and how you can actually get power from a thermocouple from a temperature gradient. So you can do the same thing with a Peltier. If you can take a Peltier and reverse it and actually like generate power from it using heat or cold, right? So there's these thermocouples that they have generate a pretty decent voltage, and they generally use them in like, have you ever seen the fans that you set on top of like a wood burning stove, and the fan turns and it's got a motor on it or whatever? That's a thermocouple that's generating the power to drive the motor. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, well, what would happen if you put that on a computer and you basically fed it back into the power supply? So the waste heat that the system was generating got channeled through and absorbed into like a heat pipe and then sent through a thermocouple. And then you basically feed that power back in through the mains with the diode into the power supply. So you're basically recycling a part of that heat back into electricity and then generating heat. I mean, there'd be a loss in the system, but you theoretically could recoup a lot of that heat as power.
And it's a lot less of a loss than just pumping it out of the air.
Exactly.
I mean, the other thing is just like I mean, the difference in temperature in a room when the computer's on, the computer's off is just insane. My son's room is like, all of a sudden the gecko suddenly comes to life and starts leaping around the cage because all of a sudden it's in tropical weather. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get warm in here. Just doing this stream. I'm in a maybe 12 by 12 bedroom, right? Just a standard bedroom. My 1080 Ti is roasting me right now.
Yeah.
So the thermocouple thing, so I didn't emphasize on what the gross part was, but the reason I learned about thermocouples was because I wanted to do a DIY-gasm to see if I could charge a cell phone with my body temperature, and you don't want to know where the thermocouple needs to go to do that.
Oh, gross.
Oh, man.
Expect it on YouTube. Expect it on YouTube.
They do have... it's more kinetic rather than thermal, but they make like a wristwatch sort of thing that as you're walking around will charge the lithium battery in the bracelet, and you can then charge your phone.
Oh, so, the kinetic stuff.
Yeah, I think it's cool. Yeah, I think the one that I'm thinking of is kinetic. But I know that they are working on like T-shirts and stuff that
pick up the heat. Yeah. I mean, and what's neat is we were talking about the Haddington guys the other day, and I was amazed at how low the power consumption is on their new arm. And they were talking about like having a couple of solar panels and you're running. Like that's insane. I can't even imagine how efficient the system's got to be doing that.
Right.
Thermocouples aren't really efficient either. So like physical movement, kinetic energy would be way more efficient.
So just a magnet wiggling back and forth between some twisted up copper wire is enough.
Yeah, right. So and honestly, I'm not expecting a thermocouple. Like the amount of energy that the thermocouple would generate from like under 100 degrees is going to be like negligible. It's going to be literally like microvolts. It's not going to be enough to do anything. It's just the idea being is that technology going to get more efficient as time goes on? If the temperature gradient is really crazy, like for instance, using something like a Peltier or something like that, where you could basically get one side of it down to almost absolute zero and hit the other side with a torch, like the amount of electricity that you could generate from something like that, even though it's not technically efficient. Like somebody pointed that out in chat. They said, listen, a thermocouple is not efficient if you were to loop it back into the system. But what I don't think they're really realizing is efficient. As long as the efficiency is above zero, it's a gain. Because it's all waste heat. You're not doing anything with that heat. That heat is literally just a throwaway byproduct. So even if it's only 1% efficient, or even like 0.1% efficient, and it's 1,500 watts, of heat being generated by that system. But then again, I guess you could look at it this way: that if you're reabsorbing the power from the thermocouple and you're still generating that heat, you may come out to some kind of net negative thing. I don't know. I'd have to figure it out. But you'd be using less power. You would be using
Well, it's just things like it's the efficiency of this stuff. Like it's not one solution anymore. It's like you're gonna see a bit of wind power, a bit of solar power, a bit of geothermal, a bit of there's gonna be lots of different places you're pulling this stuff. It seems like ridiculous to me that we're using electricity to cool a computer in a -40 temperature in Toronto. You know what I mean? Like that's like you go like, wait a second, surely, I mean, is there not something we could do that could be pulling even just a little fan system that could cool the system during the winter, so at least you're using that, or even in the summer or in the winter, taking the heat from the various different computer sources and throwing them into the heating system. I mean,
I've always hated the waste heat from like cryptocurrency mines. Like I did a tour of one of the world's largest Bitcoin mines at the time that I did the video, in Eastern Washington, where I live, like a couple hours drive. Right. And they had these 300.
Listen, you're in Washington State.
Yeah, I'm near Seattle.
Oh, of course. We were in Point Roberts, so we were. What's it called? What county is that? Whatcom. We were Whatcom County.
Well, dude, next time you're in the area, if this COVID thing's under control, we're both vaccinated. Man, we are going to go have a beer. This is what we're going to do.
We are going to
be so much fun.
Shoot slow-mo videos of us working out together.
Absolutely, man. You are welcome anytime on Barnacules Fitness Hour. It's gonna be the most popular thing. Okay, Barnacules Fitness Minute and 59 minutes of rest.
It'll be a TikTok video. Let's be real here.
And both of us with thermal couplers in various parts of our anatomy.
Exactly. Hey, you got to power the fan, the cooling fan. Wouldn't that be funny? You put a cooling fan on you and you start doing the kinetic movement and start charging the fan to cool you off. So the faster you move, the more it cools.
Oh, the stream is entirely powered by our anal probe.
There is so much potential for this video series. I can already feel it literally in my anus.
I feel myself tightening up at the concept.
Oh no!
Oh man!
No, but I think honestly, technology, amazing thing. I think it is going to save us. I think there is more good than evil. I think when that changes and there's more evil than good, that's when we see mankind just like kind of disappear. Like that's the moments when there's more bad uses for literally everything than good uses. Then we pretty much all go down the crapper at that point. But I don't foresee that in the future. We have some rough goes, and like you were saying, like infrastructure. AuxxZillary was saying, infrastructure in certain areas isn't 100% there yet. But where the infrastructure does exist, it allows people to thrive at like every level. Whereas it wasn't too long ago that if you got below a certain threshold, you just died. You were out, there was no heat, there was nowhere to go, there was nothing to eat. I mean, we've come a long ways, not everywhere, but in a lot of places. And with technology, like, circling back on the Neuralink thing.
Neuralink, we should talk about that.
Yeah, we should a little bit, right? Just for like a couple of minutes. But the Neuralink thing, I kind of look at that as scary in that it's putting us like perfectly in contact with technology. Like it's merging the two. It's no longer there's not a keyboard and mouse between you. There's not a controller between you. At that point, you are wirelessly broadcasted and connected to the internet. And we've seen sci-fi really show how and demonize what that is. As a matter of fact, somebody even like tipped a super chat earlier and said in reference to Stargate episode called Revisions with the link interface. And I don't remember that one off the top of my head, but still, I know there was quite a few episodes where it's like, you interface with alien technology. It basically like takes over your brain and puts a bunch of shit in there that you didn't want. And then next thing you know, there's problems.
Ours was always USB. I was always amazed how the Wraith darts would crash, and I'd be plugging freaking USB ports into them. I never.
Yeah. Why? Yeah, you can fly through space at like near light speed, but you still need a cable.
It's like so universal. USB, It's a universal serial bus, man. It's perfect.
It was handed down to us by the ancients.
Yeah. It's universal.
think about though, like the positives for something like Neuralink, and even in its infancy right now. Is it can stimulate parts of the brain that could they already have evidence to show that they could minimize, if not neutralize, like seizures and shaking from like Parkinson's, because they could literally amplify the signals in those neurons. They can put multiple of them everywhere. Like you could in theory have your entire scalp replaced with freaking Neuralinks, like a golf ball with all these holes, and have thousands upon thousands of these things and all these little computers communicating to each other. And you could balance out the neurochemistry of a brain. You could use it for, if people are suffering from depression, you could perk them up. If people are manic, you could slow them down. There's all these things you can do with this technology that wouldn't fundamentally like change the person as a person, right? But just like it would be drugs, but more effective, and you'd have much faster response time. Because like with a drug, you have to take it and see what it does.
So cool. That'd be so cool. Like, you know how like when you like if you want to feel low, you listen to sad music. You know what I mean? Like I want to get melancholy. You just like you flick open the app and you go, I'm setting myself on melancholy. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like there's something kind of neat about that.
Imagine insomnia. That's what I want it for, is insomnia and back pain. But right now I use a TENS device to numb the nerves in my back. Well, if I can literally interrupt the neurons that are telling my brain that I'm experiencing pain, the pain just disappears. All I need to know is where those hot spots are in my brain. So if my back starts hurting really bad, I'm like, oh God, fuck, and it's recording that. It can say that part of the brain is what's lighting up when you are on fire and dying. We're going to go ahead and send some electrical impulses there to numb that part and shut that part down.
It's like trying to find the right fuse switch for the plug you're working on.
Yep. Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's what I thought was really interesting is where they started the thing, and he didn't jump into crazy sci-fi stuff. He was like, we're all going to need this before we die.
Yeah.
Like basically, at some point in our lives, we're all going to come into an issue neurologically that could be solved by these kind of devices. And I think the idea that by automating it with the robotic surgical system, you're bringing the cost down.
Yep.
And that to me, of all of it, was the most exciting thing.
Yeah.
The idea that this technology could promote this.
It's like because the thing is, just to clarify, the device itself has 1,024 contacts and about the size. It's a little bit bigger than like a quarter, right?
Yeah.
1,024 contacts with points of the brain within that area underneath it, about an inch deep into your brain. So that's already like be able to stimulate neurons that no other technology has ever been able to touch. This is going a lot further than that. So now you can reach parts of the brain that control very, very specific, autonomic functions, serotonin production, things like that. But the thing is imagine being able to have an alarm clock that at night when it's time to go to bed, you push a button and your brain just automatically just floods you with melatonin and triggers your REM sleep, and you just fall over, and it's like getting hit with an anesthetic. You just boom down. And then throughout the entire night, if your respiration goes up or you're having a nightmare, it can detect the nightmares happening and actually like slow that down. And basically like stimulate a different area of the brain to produce more serotonin to take the bite out of it. And then when it's time to wake up in the morning, instead of an alarm going it literally just triggers a release of your neurotransmitters and adrenaline, norepinephrine, and you just get up and you are just wide-eyed and bushy-tailed and you're ready to go. And all of this is like controllable by you. It's like you're still in control of it, but you have this like level of control. And imagine like pain is the big one for me. Like if it could just relieve my pain, oh my God. Just to push a button and say, you know what? I don't give a shit if my legs don't work. Like literally just fucking kill those nerve endings and don't tell anything down there to do anything for the next 8 hours while I'm sleeping. I would do
it without a chemical addiction.
Right. Yeah.
And it's instantaneous. So if I fuck up and stop my heart, I can go, no, stop. Okay. And then my heart comes back and I'm like, whew, that was close. Whereas with the pill, you don't get to do that.
I like the idea of saying, okay, child, bedtime, and you just hit a button.
And there's the abuse of technology. Leave it to David to instantly like get it canceled.
Right away.
It's canceled.
The bad actor.
Yeah.
I see it too. Like if you
I'm offended by that term.
Oh, yeah.
Hey Douglas, thank you for the $3 super chat. James Odom, thank you for the $10. He said, about how far off do you think our technology from significantly increasing human intelligence? That's another thing this technology could theoretically do. Because the storage of information in your brain, it's all the information in your brain is all stored with like electrical patterns and chemical interactions. So if you can affect those, you could, in theory, make yourself more alert, easier to learn, faster memory recall.
Well, from a creativity standpoint, if you could stimulate different sections that are responsible for creativity, you could start making connections that you might not have been making automatically.
Yeah. Imagine being able to shut down my son is on the autism spectrum, and one thing we learned early when we started doing therapy is the way that their brain works is different. Every kid's different. Every single person on the spectrum has a different brain mapping, and they're basically overcoming and learning things different than other people. So you have to basically train them that something that we may perceive as something is they see it completely different, but the end result should be the same. So like my son had to learn how to smile because he didn't understand what smiling was. People just smile naturally. Babies smile naturally. But for my son, he had to learn what smile means and what types of things to respond to with a smile. And then over time, it becomes natural for him and it's no longer a forced behavior. So imagine in your brain. But the thing is, he also had a photographic memory until we went through all of the therapy, which, got him up to speed and in public school. Now he just seems like a normal kid. Like you'd never know unless he's tired that he was on the spectrum. He's just super, super happy kid. But he lost some of that photographic memory because he had to, work to remap his brain and use it in a different way. Had it gone untreated, he probably would have kept that photographic memory. Or so we're told. So what if you could use this technology, like you said, to momentarily shut down portions of your brain and stimulate other portions of your brain so you could become hyper-focused. You could become really artistic or really precise. Or if you're driving a car, you could shut down the part of your brain that has fear or the part of your brain that shows any doubt or might slow down your reaction time. As you slow those down, now you have more cycles to focus on the thing that makes you good at what you're doing in that moment. And now I can see that making us literally robots at that point, but I'm just saying, like, for the possibilities from software, imagine if you were somebody close to you died and you were having a panic attack and you were afraid to go outside and you were scared of the world. Your options are take a bunch of, SSRIs or selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, Xanax, stuff like that. Go outside and try to deal with it. Or you have a mechanism there to basically say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and just shut down those parts of my brain for basically make you a psycho, but shut down those parts of the brain long enough for you to be able to deal with it and slowly bring it back in a controlled manner, instead of with drugs where it's like you could overshoot, you could undershoot. It's like just control it in real time, your emotion.
Well, what about using the brain? What about using the brain as a giant network as well, where you could be using some of your processing power maybe while you're sleeping to do, like, you could almost share computing time.
Folding at home while I'm
you go to sleep and you're running like 104-degree temperature because some asshole's like trying to break a folding record.
You're sharing cycles and stuff.
We're all crypto mining.
I wonder though. I don't think the brain quite works in that way.
Right.
I think if we stretch the timeline far enough, we could figure out how the processing works to make something like that, where it's a distributed network of like, but initially, because I feel like the brain is a lot more relational connections. It's not so much linear in that way. It's like
quantum computer versus binary. We're more of quantum computers. Yeah.
I can't remember that movie that one guy was in, and then you're going to bed later and you're like, that's right. Because your brain doesn't work on that sort of like linear, very structured sort of processing power. Right. It's so relational and fuzzy in that way.
You know what you could do though is instead of processing like as a conventional computer where it's like run this algorithm on the human brain and get the result back, which is like folding at home, right? Instead of doing that, what if you went the opposite direction where it's like you feed 1,000 humans like audio and visual input of the problem that you're trying to solve, like give it to them in like a visual format, and then as the one that solves it the fastest gets the reward. So you're basically using it like a giant it's basically like an instantaneous think tank where you kick back like VR and you close your eyes and you're getting flashes of this stuff and how it works together, and then the guy with the brain who has the most life experience that puts that together intuitively, he steps forward and he's like, boom, I got a solution, and then you instantaneously have all of these solutions. They're not vetted yet, but they are coming in from different perspectives from life experience.
What about education? You sit down, the teacher walks into the class and says, let me explain this to you. Okay, that's it. That's
Johnny Mnemonic, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it is Johnny Mnemonic. Total Johnny Mnemonic.
I think it could get to that point, and it's a little scary, but also fascinating.
Yeah, at that point, are we still human?
That's a topic for another episode because now we're starting to touch on a philosophical debate about what does that mean? What do you mean human? You know, you start talking about like the thought experiment of the boat, right? You replace enough boards on the boat. Is it still the original boat? You know, if I replace enough parts of myself, am I still me? Like, You're
right. And the way that I would look at it, honestly, is we already augment ourselves in many ways, like what we eat, what we drink, what we expose ourselves to, what we decide to do or not do. Those are all conscious decisions that change the outcome of our size, our fitness, our mental fitness, our intelligence. All those things are based on decisions that we make. So if you make a decision to like physically modify yourself to change what's going on, I mean, you're still making that conscious decision to do that. Yeah. And if you are, that means you're still the person in charge. Like, no matter what the outcome of that is, it's like you drove yourself in that direction. You're responsible for it. So,
in a weird way, when I was doing the Upgrade Required documentary stuff, I was discovering there's a lot of people, because there's a lot. I met Q, and I thought Q was completely. I didn't know anyone else like Q, and then I started meeting other people who were like Q, and I felt almost like the more that people were reliant on technology, the more that they became just about their thoughts and not their physical actions, the almost more human they became. Because I think we sort of like, I think in a way, like all of our physical needs make us more animal than human, if that makes sense. But when that's all removed from you, when you're purely just like a brain in a bucket to some extent, I feel like that's when we could be almost as more human than we would any other situation. Like the fact that we are just creatures of pure thought, that to me, in a way, that's what we perceive of ourselves as human anyways, right? That's what distinguishes us from animals, is our way of processing stuff. It's not our physical things, it's the mental processes that make us human. Yeah. So I almost feel like, in a way that the further almost the more we augment, in a way, the more truly sort of human we become, if that makes sense.
Well, we at least discover our potential, I think is what it comes down to.
It's kind of like the like in Star Trek, right? They found a way to like basically solve poverty and all this stuff because of like free and infinite energy.
Right.
And there's always talk about like, oh, robots will replace our jobs and this and that. I think it touches on that is like we get to a certain point where our physical needs are taken care of, or in the sense that like all of this mundane banality of life that like, oh, well, if we have robots to do a lot of the tedious work, we allow ourselves to be more creative, more human in that way. We're like, AI is going to take away all the jobs. I think they're going to take away the jobs that we are used to. Yeah, in a big way that we're used to. And I think it's going to allow people to have more time and ability to put effort into more sort of ephemeral pursuits.
Well, that's like the 1950s, 1960s. There was a revolution because all of a sudden, there were washing machines and dryers. Yeah. All of a sudden, an entire part of the population at that time, women who were supposed to be responsible for the washing and drying of clothes, suddenly had hours available to them that they didn't have before. So they started going back to school. They started reading the paper. They started having time to have more an active role in society.
They literally built all our airplanes for war. Like, I mean,
But part of that was because these mundane tasks that we had sort of, because of a male dominant society, had thrust on them, had now it had freed them from that. So I like to think that is it possible that these robotics are taking jobs, but is it possible they're taking jobs away from people who are suffering because of these jobs and allowing them to do other things, perhaps more creative? They can be doing their TikToks instead of, because they don't have to be,
that's
washing dishes or whatever.
Well, that's the concept I loved about Star Trek, right? Is that there is no money in the Federation because everybody has a use to society, and their use to society is what gains them access to all the things that come along with that. Like, everybody is a part in one way or another. Even the dude that's like floating around in a wheelchair who can't move and makes the little red light go do 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 do. He's still like a dude that like knows how to like build warp cores and shit, and like knows it, and is like a theoretical scientist, because it's like nobody has to go do manual labor anymore. The robots do it, so everybody gets to be an intellectual. And if you happen to have some kind of a disease, well, then some intellectual person figures it out and fixes you. So now you can join as a productive member of society. And if all that fails and they can't fix you or solve you, then you become, you get to just live your life out and do whatever you want. But then people can observe you and hope that they come up with a cure someday so that somebody else doesn't have to suffer from that. So it's like this perpetual thing where it's just society feeds itself and there's no need for like this money and transaction and shift of power and everything. You're just simply like doing something for the bigger machine. And I like that idea. If you don't like what you're doing, go do something else. That was the other thing I like about it. It's like, oh, you don't want to design warp cores? That's fine, because inevitably there's going to be somebody that wants to do that because of the reward that comes along with that, like just the accolade itself. And so if you want to go be an artist, just go be an artist. That's fine. Like that's actually still contributing to society. But everybody gets a house, everybody gets food, everybody gets healthcare. Like I love that idea, but the only way that happens is if technology progresses to a point where you don't have people needing slavery or some variant of it. Like, you know, you're not the Jeff Bezos that needs 1 million drivers driving around and delivering packages and stuff because the robots already do it. So instead of Jeff Bezos being the super billionaire and everybody else is underneath him, you just have Jeff Bezos living his best life just like everybody else, doing what he wants to do when he wants to do it and contributing to society in some way. And nobody feels the need to be the top dog. Nobody feels the need to be, you know, the guy that controls everything else, because their life is just as good as everybody else's. It's whatever they want it to be.
It would be really interesting to see what happens if, like, I mean, they started an experiment in Hamilton here where they had a base minimum income, which I think a lot of the Scandinavian countries have been experimenting with or do. And they unfortunately canceled it before they sort of got any data on it. But I'd be really curious to know what, like, if you set someone up with a place to live, enough money to eat, and like internet access, like that doesn't cost an awful lot in the scheme of things if they're there and they're able to contribute in a very meaningful way to society. Yeah. I mean, there's always a fear that people are just going to take advantage of the system, but it's not like we're not already.
It would be such a small percentage, because like you could
medical too. I should probably add as well. Yeah.
I feel like most people, most human beings have an innate desire to contribute or to do something. I refuse to believe that a significant portion of the human population would just become lazy layabouts that did nothing. I don't think so. I think maybe for a little bit they'd be like, oh, cool, summer vacation, yay. But then they'd get bored. They'd want to do something. They would have to. It's in us all to create something, to do something.
Even if they just want to kick back and play video games, there's people who will want to watch that. So I think it would be really interesting to see how that sort of comes to play.
I think it's a cool concept.
I mean, and I think you see what these billionaires are capable of doing. Imagine if there were more of them who don't need to be multi-billionaires. Why don't we be like, $1 billion kind of covers you, doesn't it? That's a lot of money. Yeah. You know, I mean, look, I don't want to say let's embrace communism and everyone share all the wealth, but at the same time, I feel like we're getting a little far distance from each other. You know what I mean? Yeah. You know, so
I just don't. Yeah, let's just work towards just not having a class system. I think that's if technology can get us to the point where it's like, and there's always going to be people that have more than others, but because of their contribution to society, they may have more than others. But everybody should have like at least a good life and a way to contribute. Like no matter what, doesn't matter what their situation is. Doesn't matter if they're like literally have no arms, no legs, and only half their brain is functionable. We should be in a society where that person can still contribute in some way that enriches their life and makes them feel better. And even if their contribution to that is literally just like existing for the purpose of finding a cure for that or fixing it or learning how to give a higher quality of life to that person throughout their life, that's still like an admirable goal. They're still contributing. That's huge, right? Like you can't cure cancer unless somebody has cancer. Like and it's sad to look at it that way, but it's like, there has to be somebody that has the affliction, and that applies to everything, not just disease. It's like if you have a poor person and you want to solve the person being poor, you have to look at the bigger problem. You have to understand it. Why are they poor in the first place? Why did society let this person slip through the cracks? Understand what that hole is and then patch it. But the problem is many times the answer to that problem is you have to restructure things so you don't have the top 1% necessarily being all these billionaires, because that huge disparity or shift in income, or like us having a dependency on China for manufacturing, that's a big deal. It's like we both need it because we've structured ourselves to be in that position where it's cheaper to have them do things, but at the same time, it's like that is an exploitation of their labor force. But over there, that's how they live. That's how they get their job. If you take that away, then they've got nothing because of the way their society was formed. And you end up with and it's like you can't fix all these problems at once, because anytime you poke the one piece, you upset and break the other piece. So it's like these are very difficult problems to solve. But so I'm not even going to pretend to have the solution for it. But my ideal world that I would like to see in the future is that technology takes care of all the jobs that are dangerous. And I'm not saying people can't do dangerous things. Like if you want to go like fly a jet and risk crashing into a cliff to get like a thrill or whatever, then that's fine. Like live your best life, do you. But there shouldn't be a job requiring people to put their lives in danger if technology can replace that. And they can become the operator of that technology or the designer of that technology, rather than the person that's like in the cockpit, like, you know, flying into the side of a cliff to see how many G's it creates. Right. You know, it's like, let's have crash test dummies do all the bad stuff, and then we'll do the good stuff. And then eventually the robots will get pissed off, rise up against us, and Skynet's formed. But until then. How are you guys doing on time?
I need to wrap it up.
Yeah, I kind of was getting that feeling. And David, I'm sure you got to get going and doing some stuff.
Oh, I'm terribly busy. I've got to figure out how I'm going to storm out of my scene without saying anything tomorrow.
I could just see you practicing in front of a mirror.
Oh, I do it. You know it.
Just make sure you ham it up a couple of times, though. You know,
don't give looks better.
The subtle.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't give it to him on the first take. Hey, guys, just thank a couple more super chatters here. And Davio, thank you for the $10. And is that Australian dollars?
Yeah.
He said some here. Oh, here's some fancy dollary dues. Great show today. I wish I could catch more of these, but it's 5 a.m. in the land down under, and you're an early bird. Thank you so much, guys, for all of the support. James Odom, I don't know who Ian, Gavin, and Nick are, but thank you for the $5.
I like this.
Oh, do we need to do that?
I like this. I like that. That's nice.
There you go. Screenshot that. Screenshot it, guys.
There you
go. And huge thanks to Mr. David Hewlett here. Thank you for spending.
Oh my God! Thank you.
This has been so much fun. This is great.
I'm hooked. So whenever if I'm around, I'm up for it. So let me know.
Yeah,
cool. We found a third co-host.
We got a guy. Yeah, no, this was actually really fun. I really enjoyed today's show a lot, and thank you everybody for your contributions, your channel joins, just watching the show. Everything helps us out a ton. If you guys missed the beginning of the show, we definitely talked about a bunch of random shit for like an hour and a half. So go back and check it out. I'll put a time index when we talked about Neuralink down in the description when the video finally goes live for everybody.
That's 5 minutes.
It's like 5 minutes of Neuralink, but hey, you know, it's okay. I changed the title halfway through the show to Special Guest David Hewlett. So anyways, we're out. So it kind of lets us off the hook just a little bit. Just to let you know, if you want any of the contact information for David and you want to go check out like his Iron Ham TV over on Twitch that him and his son live stream on, or you want to go follow him on social media, specifically Twitter, I put both of those links in the video description. And if you want to hassle any of us, we're usually all hanging out on Twitter. And we also have in live streaming. AuxxZillary and I both do live streaming throughout the week, give or take. So all of our links in the description. You guys know the deal, and we will see you again next week. Same bad time, same bad place, 10 a.m. Pacific time, Saturday, unless we change our mind, which isn't likely unless our buddy over there goes camping again or on some trip to the Caribbean. Hey, he's a well-traveled man. Nice. And David, you know, he's got that acting gig. So anytime you want to join us, David, just let me know a day in advance. We'd love to have you on here. I've got the scene all set up, and it seems to be working perfectly. Fantastic. And we had a blast. So barge in.
That's great.
Anytime, barge in.
Fantastic. I shall indeed. Be careful what you wish for.
Dude, I try not to be careful. That's what gets me into all the trouble.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, guys, take it easy, and we'll catch you later. Bye. If it lets me end the stream here, and